Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don. And if you're here, you can only be here for one reason. It's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by comicbookclick.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
It's me, Alex Garcia, aka The Cog, excited to talk about something that makes me feel really old.
I got the comic OG here to help me dust off a very, very important Marvel comic series, X-Men event, a crossover series for the ages, 30 years old at this point. We're talking about the Onslaught Saga. And I feel like there's a million reasons to talk about this right now, from the popularity that X-Men 97 currently has, deservedly, which I'm really, really digging what's going on over there. A lot of people assuming that this is a direction that the show might eventually go, with some Easter eggs that have been kind of laid out there for us. The
Mhm.
kind of crazy way season one ended, which the events of the finale of season one actually lead right into the story we're talking about today. Magneto and Xavier, existing and being a part of Avengers Doomsday, another world that is seemingly going to be destroyed at the hands of a very big bad. I just feel like this is in the zeitgeist right now. This is the conversation right now. Marvel reboots, big bads, and the X-Men. One of the things I was surprised about in this story is how upfront the X-Men are as characters in this. Um, Obviously, this is an X-Men villain, but this book permeates so many different Marvel titles that I was really, really shocked to see how prominent the X-Men were and how much they take charge in this. But we get the X-Men, we get X Factor, we get the Fantastic Four, we get the Inhumans pop in for a little bit in this. Um, the Avengers, obviously, some villains. It's watching I think that was the most interesting part for me in this series, was just watching where the villains landed when it came to all this. With everything being said and done. But a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. We actually put a lot of these. We put together the podcast schedule, ahead of time. It helps us out a bit. What did you think when I put this on the podcast schedule initially, and what made you want to be a part of this?
One, this was a massive event, and it's still considered a massive event in the history of comic books, period. When I seen you put it on the schedule, I knew one, that this is something you did not read when it was coming out. I,
Yes,
I knew that.
very true.
And two, I knew I had to be a part of this because this is right in my wheelhouse. This is the event that made me go from being, I guess, like a small time comic book collector
Hmm.
to just collecting everything, because this literally changed the landscape of the Marvel comic book universe at the time. At that time, I was only mostly collecting Spider-Man, most of the X titles, and maybe like a couple DC books, and that was it. I knew nothing, or almost nothing, about the Avengers and all of that world, because it was corny. It
Yeah.
was so corny at that time. It was unbelievably just boring, and it was the definition of, they were just trying to be extreme and make them so appealing, and it was failing. You had the X-Men world and Spider-Man, you had the Clone Saga going on, you had everything crazy going on with X-Men. They were just coming out of the Age of Apocalypse, so that was insane. Wolverine almost gets his adamantium back. All this crazy stuff is happening, and then over in the Avengers side, you're trying to tell me, oh yeah, like Cap gets an armor, and Thor gets a bunch of extreme pouches
Yeah.
all over for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I was, like I said, this changed that completely for me. So when I saw this on the schedule, I was like, I had to be a part of this.
It's so interesting how all the kind of I guess when I say all, I mean the big two would eventually come to the same conclusion of, like, we need to kind of hit the reset button on this and and kind of figure out where we want the future of this to be. Um there were some really, really cool moments in this. Like I said, I think the best moments for me were the moments between the villains in this, when it comes to the grand scheme of it all. I thought that was really, really cool. I like, spoiler alert, I like it seems so simple now, as somebody who has read so much since this event. but I love the pairing of Franklin Richards and Nate Gray. Like the idea of like these two John Connors kind of
Yeah.
you know, coming together and then being like a savior of the universe kind of stuff. Um, from what it kind of even looks like is going on with Doomsday, like Franklin is going to be a big deal in that. You know, he was a big deal in the original Secret Wars. It's interesting to see how long he has perpetually been a child. It's interesting to see how long, you know, they've just like everyone's just known that he's been the superpowered being for so long. So that's super interesting. Um, watching how the X-Men are dealing with Xavier, I think that stuff is cool. Wolverine, I don't know what's going on with him in this story. He's like half Ninja Turtle in this. I feel like for a lot of it, you want to talk about Edge, you know, and then like so, I wanted to get the full
How'd
on
you wait?
experience.
How'd you feel about the fact that in the midst of this all, you had a fake Beast?
I actually thought that was super interesting. So yeah, let me get a couple of my preconceived notions out of here before we talk about get you know a little bit deep into this. First, because I wanted the full event experience, I read the reading order that was provided on Marvel Unlimited. This
Right.
was, I want to say, about 30 books, roughly. Weaving in and out of things like Spider-Man, Hulk, Cable, X-Man, X-Men, um, and more. Avengers, etc.
Avengers, a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so so I read a lot of that. There are a lot of weird moments in this that kind of just like halt a little bit of the momentum. But one of the things I had kind of spoken to you off air about was like I was familiar with Onslaught because I think he's one of the villains in one of the arcade games.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So I was aware of the character, and then you watch enough YouTube videos, watch Mojo, any of that kind of stuff, and you kind of get the pop culture reference that okay, this is some sort of amalgamation between Magneto and Xavier gone bad that's going to destroy the world. But one of the first things I remember asking you was like, wait, why doesn't anyone know that this is Magneto? Like, why doesn't anyone know that this is Xavier? Like, he completely branded in all his colors, his helmet, and all that stuff. And to be honest, the mystery of Onslaught is solved pretty early on. Pretty early on,
Oh,
everyone kind of gets one of the aspects of it that Xavier is a part of it
in
somehow, somewhere.
yeah, in the reading order. In the reading order. And we were talking about that off air, is that like, yeah, this whole event technically is like over a year long,
Hmm.
but for like 6 months, we had no idea. You know, it was just like who this is. I'd like that when he does eventually just make his appearance, it's like, oh, okay. And then
Yeah,
then it's kind of like enough said. Then it just becomes, well, what the hell does this thing want?
right, right. And so like there's a lot of like talk of betrayal. There's a lot of talk of like this mentor, you know, seemingly gone rogue and whether or not he should be trusted anymore. A lot of that stuff I found very interesting. A lot of the like the Xavier quote unquote heel turn and how people are dealing with it. A lot of like having to get Franklin. I thought that was interesting. Cable dealing with his fate in all this and whether or not he
Hmm.
has the power and ability to change course and stop something like this from happening. I found that very interesting. But then there's a moment where like Onslaught makes himself known and everyone battles him and he like one shots everyone. And it's like, oh dip, like it's about to go down. But then like a lot of the rest of the story is him and his citadel haunting Franklin and Nate Gray while everyone else fights Sentinels. For a very, very long time, that's what it is. So when Beast showed up evil, just I think he's a great despicable heel. There's nothing cool about Dark Beast, at least in this story. He makes a great guy that you want to see get his lights punched out. And eventually when he does by Hank McCoy, I'm pretty excited about that. I like that he's sniveling. I like that he is subservient to Magneto. I like that he is crazy and does a bunch of like weird experiments. As somebody who is now dealing with the fourth or fifth iteration of a quote unquote evil Hank McCoy, right? Because now they're dealing with the chairman in the
Hmm.
current X-Men run. This idea that in the future Hank McCoy becomes the X-Men's greatest villain. And I read like the hints of that, and I knew about the stuff that happened in the Wolverine series on Krakoa, and I'm like, wow, they are really building up for like a really cool evil beast. This is groundbreaking. Now realizing that 30 fucking years ago, they already kind of played around with this idea of Dark Beast. Real quick, is
Mhm.
this just an Age of Apocalypse like doppelganger kind of situation? It just keeps saying
That's
he's come
exactly what
from
he is.
somewhere else and he's hidden the other
Yeah,
beast away.
yeah. So that was actually an issue. Probably that's see. I have the omnibus
Yeah.
of Onslaught. There are two omnibuses of the road to Onslaught.
That's
So it's
bonkers.
probably in that. So basically, what happens with Dark Beast is in the Age of Apocalypse which was the huge X-Men event that had just wrapped up like a year or two
Mm,
prior to Onslaught. Um, four characters from that world survive that world's extinction and jump over. Dark Beast, X-Man, um, Holocaust. I think those three show up in this,
yes.
and then there's one other guy. I think they mention him, but you've never seen him. Sugar Man.
No, no, they where did they mention him? I think they were going through Nate Gray's mind.
Yeah, they mentioned, but you've never seen him.
No, well, yes and no. I've never seen him in this issue. At one point, there's a guy in NXT named Shaquan Sugars, and Booker T yells "Sugar Man" when he comes out. And the other day, I turned to Justin. I was like, I think that's like a weird, obscure X-Men villain. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know why. I have it in my mind of this Sugar Man, and I look him up, and he has all those weird arms. He's horrifying. He's horrifying
He's
looking.
horrifying.
But I didn't know where he came from.
He's as far as I know, he's never been a 616 character. He came from the Age of Apocalypse. He's the fourth person that came over, and he's really weird. He's covered in tattoos. His head, he's like a really monstrous Modoc
Yes,
without the floating chair.
yeah,
It's just a nasty face, a forked tongue that I think is a weapon. I think one of the things he carries in one of his arms is a version of Mjolnir. If you
that's
look at it carefully,
weird and interesting. I
I
saw,
know.
I was so like not obsessed, but like curious about this character that I like looked him up on Reddit, and somebody was like, Sugar Man is like peak 90s edge. Look at this design. And somebody was like, you put a couple other things on that. That's a Kirby design. Like that's just a big head. Like he's like I get what you're trying to say. Like a lot of the stuff of the
Right.
90s is 90s based, but this is just as, Silver Age as
Oh yeah.
anything as anything else. Um so yeah, I found myself liking the underlings because we spend so little time with actual Onslaught. Onslaught after a while just kind of disappears. So I had a lot of time dealing with the underlings. I There's a little bit of Mystique and Sabretooth that I found very interesting. That relationship
Oh
there,
yeah.
I thought
Hmm.
that was really really cool stuff. The whole like Juggernaut, like I can't remember what's going on, but I gotta warn you guys something. Like that
Well,
whole thing
that's
was
I
really
mean,
interesting.
in your Marvel reading order, it didn't tell you to start with that issue when Juggernaut gets sent across the country.
No, the very first issue it has me start at, and it's in its collection. It's split it up between like prologue, book 1, 2, and 4, or 1, 2, 3, and 4, epilogue, aftermath. Aftermath is Heroes Reborn, the first issues of I want to say Cap, Avengers, X
Okay.
Men, thing else. And so the very first issue of this is the issue in which Jean is approached. That's where my kind of recap starts, where Jean is approached by
Okay.
Onslaught, and she's like, "You
Oof.
see, this shit doesn't work. None of this works
That's
here."
interesting. That's interesting that like the Marvel Omnibus goes back a little further than that.
Mhm.
And I know for a fact, like I said, um, the first time that Onslaught is teased is in an issue of Uncanny X-Men a few months prior, where the cover is Juggernaut just laid out on the cover,
Yeah.
and which is something you never see, especially at that. Nowadays, I feel like it happens a lot more often, but at that time, it never happened. Juggernaut's laid out, and in the issue, it looks like a comet is coming to crash in the United States or Canada, or I think, yeah, no, it was in New York. He was punched from Canada, and what happens is he lands, he's unconscious, and the only thing he can say when he wakes up is "Onslaught, Onslaught is coming."
Ah,
And
they
then
might have
for
took that shit
like
for what you call it for Infinity War
right, well,
with the
yeah, maybe
Hulk.
because
The Hulk lands and he's like,
yeah, yeah. Well, even at that time, yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet had only been a couple years prior, and Silver Surfer is the one
Oh
that does that,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
the one that crash lands in the sort. What is
What
this,
are
the
you?
name
What
of
are
his
you? Some
place?
kind of comic OG or something? That you know that
Something like that.
you can pull these references out. No, no, no. So like, I'm another thing I'm interested in. This is just kind of off the cuff. Like, not doesn't really have to do with the conversation we're having now. I am very impressed in the wrestling terms about how well they've managed to protect Juggernaut. They really care about
Mhm.
his abilities. They don't like sometimes another writer will get him and be like, "Oh, like he was strangely weak in that." Like if he chooses to start running, he is unstoppable. Like that is in every iteration that I've seen him, even in this, he just like runs out the window or some shit like that. Like he
Yeah,
can't he can't
yeah.
figure out what's going on, so he just
Yeah,
like runs
no,
out the
yeah,
window.
and then like I remember that part. Warren and Betsy are like, "Yo, you're gonna jump
Yeah,
out the window,"
that's
and
what
he's
it
like,
was.
"I'm eventually gonna land on the ground. No big deal."
Yeah, yeah, and it's and everyone knows not to. And then when because he's going to the mansion to warn people, and everyone's like, Juggernaut's here. Like everybody, all hands on deck. I don't know what this
Yep,
motherfucker's here for. It can't be nothing good. Everybody, fan out and look for him. Meanwhile, he's just trying to warn them. So I found that very interesting. This is also, I'm guessing, around the time of the government-sponsored X Factor. So there's a lot of interesting stories about that, and Valerie Cooper having to be a like liaison for these mutants, and eventually at one point having to come and arrest Xavier for crimes against humanity and shit because you're sponsored by the government. You got to pay. Like something's bad's gone on, you have to pay the piper kind of stuff. So the
makes
dynamics and all
sense.
the dynamics and all this are super interesting. Um, we'll get into Joseph. We'll get into all that stuff there. We'll get into Rogue. Who, holy hell, man! Talk about a heel turn in this. She didn't do anything outwardly evil, but bro, okay, all right. This is a lot. Hey, love is love, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going. Yeah, we'll get into that. So, in case you guys don't know what we're talking about specifically, the Onslaught Saga is a massive 1996 Marvel Comics crossover event. Actually, starts in '95. The story centers on Onslaught, an incredibly powerful, malevolent, psionic entity born from the merged consciousness of Xavier's repressed anger, and Magneto's deep hatred for humanity. We'll go into a little bit of what the science is behind that in that issue where the guy's swinging a stick or something like that for the whole issue. Was that in yours?
Swinging a stick.
He's
Who's
swinging like a thing. There's a Gateway, I think is his name. He's like a seer.
Oh, Gateway.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. I've
no,
never
no, no,
seen
no. He's
seer.
swing. That's a
Him.
slingshot that he makes portals so he can teleport. Man,
That's
don't
what
you
I'm
know
saying. I've
anything?
never seen anything. I've never seen this man before in my life, and he doesn't say a
I
word in the
think
comic that we watch that we read.
I yes, but that's normal. He rarely speaks, and I believe he um he made a guest appearance, I think, in one episode of the X-Men animated show. I
Yeah.
can't remember if it's the original or in '97, where you just kind of see him. And then, if you were a fan of Jonathan Hickman's anything, the Avengers run, did you read the Avengers run?
I don't think so.
Okay, he has like a nephew or a cousin or something that eventually joins the Avengers that basically has the same powers as him. I can't
Is it
remember his name right now.
Manifold?
Manifold. There you go.
I know
Yeah,
Manifold. I don't know.
yeah,
His Manifold
yeah.
eventually
He's
joins the what I affectionately call the Black Panther Party. He joins the crew, and it's Manifold, Doctor Voodoo, Storm, Black Panther, and Misty Knight, and they're like a all black crew in Harlem and shit. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I know Manifold. Okay, that makes a lot of sense then that those two would be connected. But because that man doesn't talk, that was another one of those issues of like, as you
yeah,
know, and what he's doing right now is,
yeah.
and I'm just like, oh, this is kind of crazy. So I looked up because you don't just pull this book out of your butt. You don't pull everything in comics serves a purpose. Obviously, the main purpose is always entertainment, but there's got to be other thematic reasons why they would create a story. So one of the things that this book supposedly accomplishes is it resolves a something teased since Bishop's debut in 1991. And let me know if you know what's going on here, because that's 5 years before this comic finishes
Yep.
up. Um,
So I mean, no, no, no. I mean, yes, when Bishop goes through time, it's because he realizes in his future he finds out about an X trader,
yes,
and the person who tells him that, oh, all the X-Men get betrayed and I'm the only one that's left, is Gambit.
Okay.
But before he leaves, he finds a transmission, which happens in this series, of Jean Grey saying, "Hey, I think I'm the last living X-Men, but we were betrayed, but we're not sure by whom." And then she's like seemingly murdered, and then Bishop time travels to where, not to this point exactly, but to where he shows up, and he's anticipating this betrayal, and the only person that he's thinking it could possibly be, since the only one he's ever met alive is Gambit. He's like, well, Gambit's the only living X-Man
Yeah.
in my time.
Yeah.
He must be the traitor. So from the time that he gets here until it's even addressed in this, if you remember, a couple
Yeah.
times Bishop talks to Gambit like, "Yo, my bad.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
time I thought it had to be you." And
Yeah.
even Gambit's like, "Well, I don't blame you. I'm
Yeah.
Gambit."
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so they're answering for breadcrumbs left 5 years ago. There was an X trader, so they had to kind of wrap that up. This was supposed to also be an exploration of Xavier's breaking point. They just wanted him to kind of break bad after the years of the failing dream, right? That they kind of keep
Mhm.
going back to. They wanted corporately, Marvel needed a universe-shaking threat to kill, quote unquote, the Avengers, Fantastic Four. So Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld could reboot them in the Heroes Reborn line. How successful was Heroes Reborn? Because I do not hear it as a recommendation.
Um, a The stories themselves I would not recommend, although they are short. It's four
Yeah.
series, 12 or 13 issues,
Hmm.
and nothing happens that's earth-shattering. The art is gorgeous. Even the stuff that it's really funny. Marvel brought back the two of the Image creators, Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee, along with like Will's Portacio and a couple others,
Yeah.
they come over because Marvel realizes, oh shoot, one of the big reasons our books aren't selling anymore are because we lost all these Image writers. I mean, the writers, creators,
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they get them to come back to save the Avengers and all this stuff, make them a big seller. But then it was funny how like 6 issues in, Rob Liefeld manages to get himself fired.
What could entice? I mean, money, right? I was gonna say, what can
Money, no,
entice
no,
them to
exactly.
leave
It's
Image?
you. I can hear. Well, yeah, like I said, money. I could hear Mr. Krabs. Why would you do that? Money. So I would imagine that they gave them a buttload of money to come back. They gave the whole thing with Heroes Reborn was they were supposed to have like full creative control. It was supposed to
Okay.
be like, look, you just basically follow these guidelines, but do your thing. And Rob, I guess, went too crazy or something, and they ended up firing him. Jim finishes his run, other people come in to finish it. But I will tell you this, it got people talking. It got me buying Avengers, Fantastic Four, Captain America, Iron Man. I had never bought any of those books before. And then even once they eventually came back to the Marvel 616, I kept buying those books. And I
Okay.
pretty much have collected those books ever since.
That's interesting. But you would say like the real renaissance comes like in the Bendis era? That when the real Marvel sort
Yes.
of like
I would definitely say that. Yeah, when Bendis started doing everything, that was huge. That's when all the Marvel properties just like exploded.
it's
But
crazy because there's not
Heroes.
a long time between these two things, but they feel like night and day.
Yes. Yes. It just goes to show even then or throughout the history of comics, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
go through year to year, decade to decade, and you can see the big swings.
yeah,
So when you go from reading this and then you imagine like, how does Hickman grab this and then do what he does?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy. Because it feels like you said, like night and day. Like this is not Hickman. This is not Bendis. This is something completely different. And that's why I love comics. I love because it just shows like you put anything in the right creative control, and amazing things can happen.
I will say that this has tremendous bones. This book, I think that the story I think is really really good. The character work I think is really really good. I think it's a little long, but they were trying to get a lot done. So like when I
Mhm.
look back at the story, I'll look back at it fondly. My main thing, and it comes to this, probably has one of the best endings of an event because it is so widespread. But endings are hard. Ending all this
It
kind of
is.
stuff is hard. Finding a way to get this all kind of capped off, to the point that in Tom DeFalco's comic creators on X-Men podcast, Scott Lobdell admitted the event suffered from internal creative clashes.
Oh, I can. You can.
Yeah. He says,
What do you say? I'm not shocked by this.
it was not the most well received storyline. I can blame myself in that I was at odds with Jarvis. I was at odds with another writer over some of Xavier's buried thoughts. The crossover that eventually saw print seemed more like a work in progress than a finished story. A major debate, which was Press Memories fueled Onslaught. Writers argued over referencing Silver Age trivia from X-Men #3, where Stan Lee wrote Xavier holding a secret crush on Jean Grey. The idea that Xavier would bury his yearning for a young Jean Grey, way too creepy for me. Bob Dell speaking. I think it was an idea that Stan tossed in the earliest pages and quickly realized it was a bad idea. I agreed and thought that it should never again be revisited. Yeah, I thought I had more of the quote, but
No, I mean, if you can tell reading this, and I even this when something is this big, it's also hard, I can imagine, to manage, right? Because there are probably at least 10 writers, how many different artists over different books, and also I feel like even in my because this this came out when I was like 15, 16 years old.
yeah,
Even when I was reading it then, I could tell, like, man, are they talking right well? Because I mean, just one thing that I always thought was funny was how book to book, depending on the artist, Wolverine looked completely different. It was like, are
yes.
people got different parts of the memo, or they interpreted the memo differently?
What about the
But
bandana switches? Like some of them, they're like, "We're
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
use
yeah.
a
So
bandana." Some of them, we're
red, he's
not gonna use a
blue.
bandana. I'm
Yeah,
like,
or
what is going
sometimes he
on
looks
here?
like a caveman. Sometimes he looks regular. But so all these people having to communicate and agree to something that like I said, I felt like this was sudden. Like this was Marvel going, yo, are the whole Avengers line, including Fantastic Four, is not selling well. So let's get this idea going. Well, what would make this happen? Remember that time that Professor X talked about how he liked Jean Grey back in X-Men #3 in 1962. Remember
Right,
that?
right.
Let's build on that, and you can totally see how that's referenced and then never referenced again. And then I feel like they quickly were like, all right, let's just make it that it was Magneto's persona that poisoned Xavier, and like that's it.
Yeah,
Like,
this was such a weird, the over excusing of what's supposed to happen here. It felt like initially they wanted to make Xavier a villain, and what's weird is that he had already done a bunch of questionable stuff before, the faking of the death kind of stuff. The Xavier files are brought up in this. It's made a big deal. I'm a Batman fan. Do you know how big of a deal it is for me to find out that Xavier's what do they call them? Well, they call them
Xavier
the Xavier
protocols,
protocols,
the Xavier
but I
protocols.
mean more so the contingency plans predate Batman. That's a big deal for me because one of the biggest Batman stories is Tower of Babel, where he has files on all the members of the Justice League, and what's his face finds it. I think Ra's al Ghul,
Man, I think
Raish al Ghul
Ra's,
finds it.
oh,
Yeah, it's
Ra's al
Raish.
Ghul first, right,
It's
right.
Savage in the movie. They made a movie version, and it's Vandal Savage who finds it and uses it. But it's Tower of Babel is the cover is Homeboy with his sword, Raish al Ghul, while all the like pieces of their various costumes are on the ground and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm like, oh wait, so Homeboy had this. So there's a bunch of stuff that they could and should sit down with him and kind of like take him to task for, but none of it happens. It's like almost they switched their mind halfway through and wanted to put it
Yep.
all on Magneto. And not only do they put it all all on Magneto, but this book slash story doesn't actively have a Magneto.
Nope.
So not only can they put all the sins on somebody, that person's not around to answer for any of their sins. So it's really strange as to who you're supposed to be getting mad at here. I think, and it's been said, I want to say maybe even by better writers in this story, that the idea of like it being a combined frustration of like Magneto always had this hate, but that Xavier might just be starting to give into it. That to me
Well, I
is
mean,
way more interesting. You know, it's Malcolm X going. Oh, sorry, it's Martin Luther King going to Malcolm X going. All right, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like you win. What are we? You know what do we got to do? Kind of shit. And that to me is way more interesting than like, oh, it's his lust. It's like it's his lust personified or anything like that. Or he once had a
right.
crush on you 40 years ago. How do you feel about that, Gene? You know, like
Yeah,
that stuff I don't buy. But the idea that a person who has been fighting for peace at this point in the story, 30 years, and it's not working, and more people are dying, I can see, and that he had to like lobotomize someone he thought was a friend, his greatest enemy.
right.
He had to watch Wolverine basically get gutted by his own skeleton. I can see all of that being
Yeah.
why this was created. I don't think you need like a weird seedy like creeping on Jean stuff. I don't
I
and
mean,
they don't
you
think
don't.
they don't think you need it either because like she doesn't tell anyone.
He doesn't tell anybody, and it's brought up once. It's brought up once.
One
That's
of
it.
my
It's
one,
more.
no, you're good. I was gonna
Huh?
say one of my favorite parts in this is when she knows that Xavier's Onslaught, but no one else does. And she's like,
Yes.
she's holding Cyclops' hand, and like he says something sus, and she squeezes it. Like, you see this motherfucker?
Yeah.
I know this motherfucker's
Yeah.
Onslaught. See, it's moments like that I love. They had great character moments. These characters have been around
It's
for so long that their voices felt intact, and it felt like, oh, they would
it's
say that. That person would do that kind of stuff. It's when they try to like answer for the bigger stuff. The more they try to answer what Onslaught was, the more confused I felt like it got.
because
Uh,
like I said, this is like 10 writers all coming together trying to come up who this thing is, what to do with him, what's his
Yeah,
origin,
what does he want? They also never really
what does he
say.
want.
He just keeps saying like,
Well,
"I will get." I. He keeps like talking shit to Nate Gray. He was like, "Yeah, I had a whole future of mutants, and you just let it die." Like maybe that's what I want. Does he want mutants? Does he want to kill everyone? You want to take over everyone? I'm not
he
100%
at
sure.
one point the most concrete plan I got from him was basically he wanted to enslave the entire world mentally into
Yeah,
some kind of collective conscious that he controlled.
it's also one of those things that like he purports to be such a humongous and threatening villain that like he doesn't need a physical form. All the physical form stuff is
Yes.
just like for games, I guess, or just like to play around or whatever until it eventually breaks out and it,
So,
they're like,
so
oh
he
my
can
god,
look cool, man. So he can look cool.
it is the '90s, man. You had to get your
You
fashion
gotta,
on
yeah.
point. Um,
I mean, look at those. He's behind you. I mean, look at all the spikes. You know, like he's basically a giant Magneto slash Super
claws,
Shredder
yeah,
slash
Shredder.
Stripe slash
Yeah,
Stripe.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yo, that's Kevin Nash in there, man. That's
Yo,
Kevin Nash
you
in
ain't
there.
lying, you ain't lying. But yeah, we won't be getting into it here because it already happened. But the genesis of this traces all the way back, as I said before, to the Fatal Attraction storyline. So Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine's skeleton. Charles Xavier flips the fuck out, and he telepathically shuts down Magneto's mind completely. This is what happened in X-Men '97. During that psychic assault, the darkest, most vengeful aspects of Magneto's psyche across the mental bridge, whatever that is, and fuse with the repressed anger and frustration buried deep within Xavier's subconscious. As anti mutant sentiment surges across the globe, the dark entity begins to take shape. And that's basically the background that we have in this. This is a very massive story. So I took the best notes I can. I'm not 100% sure on the order that this will come out in, but we'll do this as we always do, the best way we can. And there's a lot to talk about here, and there's a lot to laugh at here, and there's a lot of really cool moments. So if you were ready to spoil a 30-year story, let's do it.
Let's go.
All right.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Spoilers. So Onslaught makes his first physical move in the astral plane targeting Jean Grey, dragging her into a psychic realm. He shows her the overt bigotry of human society before revealing a more disturbing truth. The dark hidden secrets within Xavier's own mind, including repressed romantic feelings Xavier harbored for Jean when she was his young student. Horrified by this dark perversion of her mentor, Jean still rejects Onslaught's vision, defeating her in astral combat. Onslaught leaves Jean unconscious in the shopping mall with his name psychically scrawled across her face, Onslaught. Um, I loved her talking back in this. I loved her being like, "So," like that was such a badass moment.
Yeah,
He gave his best plea here. He gave his best, case for why you should join me, and she was like, "Nah,
yeah.
sorry, not interested." I really really like that. Um,
No, see. This is one of the things I wish this book would have had, or your road. See, up until this moment, we had never seen Onslaught, but Onslaught, like I said, had been clued upon for a long time.
okay,
Like so to finally see him, and even the character Post, which we'll probably see
yes,
in a little bit.
yeah,
See, even Post, and that was another one of those Marvel things that I think they changed at the last minute when they announced that the character, because Post is Onslaught's herald, kind of like for
okay,
Galactus, like Silver
yeah,
Surfer
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Galactus. So I forget how many issues prior to this one, probably like 6 or 7 months prior. Host was teased. And from what I remember, when they announced that Post was going to be there, he was originally supposed to be Onslaught. But then I think something
Oh,
happened when they said, no, 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 don't make him Onslaught, make him the Herald of Onslaught.
right, right, right.
So there was an issue where a couple of X-Men members fight Post, and
Hmm.
Post is like, yo, you guys think I'm the big bad? I'm just the guy who's letting you know that the guy's showing up.
Yeah,
So again, first you have Juggernaut showing up as a beaten body, just shouting Onslaught, but he can't tell anybody anything. Then this Post guy shows up. He wrecks a bunch of the X-Men, and he's like, "Yo, there's something worse coming." And then finally, this happened. So my 15-year-old, 16-year-old self read this issue, and even rereading it now, I felt like that kid again of being like,
finally,
"Oh,
like finally, like we've finally figuring
yes."
out what the heck all this is
And
about. Yeah,
and like I said, you brought up like getting that moment where she just has this shit written on her head. So she's finally met this character, and he's that brutal. Because Jean Grey, at this point in time, is the most powerful telepath and telekinetic, to the point where also, she was a phoenix. So like the fact that she then at the conclusion of this battle, he basically says, "All right, then get the fuck out. You're not with me," and does this to her. It was like, oh shit,
yeah. She
like this is
tapped into
big.
some of those Phoenix powers in that fight
Hmm.
against him. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, so it's like him coming to her benevolently, like asking for her help in this, and then like you said, effectively kicking her out. Um, we then go to Colorado, where Betty Braddock, who was Psylocke at the time, suffers excruciating mental agony as dark shadows loom. Kane Marco, aka Juggernaut, crashes into her cabin, possessing the secret of Onslaught's true identity, but a heavy telepathic block prevents him from speaking it. So desperate, he heads towards Westchester. He literally just like smashes out the thing. He's like, "I'm just gonna start walking over towards there." Um, Posing as a gentle apparition named Charlie, Onslaught befriends Franklin Richards, the reality warping son of Reed and Sue, Storm gaining the boy's trust to access his powers. Meanwhile, Nate Gray approaches the Avengers, warning a skeptical team that Xavier has turned evil. The Charlie Franklin stuff is hilarious to me. There's a moment, and I put it up on Facebook, where Onslaught's like trying to do this masterful plan of tricking Franklin, and every 5 minutes, Franklin's like, "Do you want a glass of milk?" And he's like, "No, I don't want the milk. Damn it!" And he's like, "I can get it for you. Like, if you want, I could just go get you the glass of milk.
It's not a big deal.
Stop talking about milk." Really, really funny because
The
he's a
whole
child.
time I was rereading that, because I don't even remember. I was not reading Fantastic Four at the time, so I don't
Okay.
remember reading that issue. But when you posted that, I saw it, and it just made I read it with Stewie's voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I do not want your milk. Yeah,
That's what it was. It was like an older. That's why the voice in my head was like, yeah, an older British man, like Xavier almost. Um. So yeah,
I'm trying to confound you.
that's really funny, but it's also really like insidious and scary. Like the idea that there's
Yeah,
this like childlike apparition that's trying to coax Franklin away from his own family. That stuff is really, really spooky.
yeah.
Um.
No, it and
Uh.
it just shows how insidious this character of Onslaught, whether or not you believe he's Xavier or Magneto, whatever, but Onslaught definitely was.
Yeah.
But then it
I.
kind of curtails later on.
It does. It definitely curtails later on. They were also doing this kind of theme that I think could have worked entirely, especially if you're considering if they thought that things had gotten too crazy in Marvel, and this was all an attempt for a reboot, right? They really could have, and I know this is backseat driving now, right, or for armchair quarterbacking, but
Right.
like this could have been a celebration of the flaws of everything that they had gotten up to at that point. Because if this is a psionic villain, make everyone fight their worst nightmares. You don't necessarily need goons if everyone's dealing with their
Right.
trauma, And I
Mhm.
feel like they did that for some people, but not for others.
Yes.
Like some people
Yeah.
fought
Mhm.
the psychic version of their worst nightmare, and other people fought Post. And
Yes.
Holocaust shows up in this, and that's why I thought Post and
Yes.
Holocaust were like Age of Apocalypse characters. You're telling me only
Only
Holocaust
Holocaust.
was okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I'm reading that, I'm like, that's a little on the nose, huh? Like fucking Holocaust, like
Well, you know what's
golly,
crazy is a
golly.
quick little history on Holocaust. So that's him in his wrecked form. So
Okay,
Magneto like beat Holocaust's ass when he would look normal.
yeah.
His name when he was a normal human or mutant, and he's the son of Apocalypse was genocide.
Oh, okay. I like the
And then I
rebranding, I
believe
guess.
Yeah, and then I believe he kills the Scarlet Witch in the Age of Apocalypse,
Yeah.
and Magneto flips out and like basically rearranges his atoms, like disembowels him, does something horrible that makes it so that the only way he can survive is being inside of that suit.
Okay.
And then in a Darth Vader-esque way, when he emerges with his new suit, he's like, "I'm no longer genocide. What's a worse name than
Yeah,
genocide?
he's literally on he's on
Holocaust."
Axe Jeeves looking for synonyms for genocide. Absolutely ridiculous. It did seem like the suit was keeping him alive, so it makes me happy to know that he got his ass beat so bad that he needed the suit to stay alive. That's
Yes.
very
Mhm.
interesting. As somebody who was reading comics at the time, how were people reacting to X-Men, to Nate Gray? I'm a little curious.
Well, he was so huge that they made sure he survived the Age of Apocalypse. This is a character who was around for 4 issues.
Hmm.
In the Age of Apocalypse, everybody when the Age of Apocalypse happened, what happened was all the X books, which was like 6 or 7 at the time, became Age of Apocalypse books.
Okay.
So Cable became X-Man. And
Ah,
basically what he is in Age of Apocalypse is, what if they actually made a perfect version of Cable who was not infected with the technoganic virus?
Sinister
So
gives him
you
that,
got
right?
Apocalypse does.
Okay. Apocalypse
Apocalypse
never
does. And
got
that's
to
what and
him to give him the.
no yes, in the age of Apocalypse, because it's different. So in the Age of Apocalypse,
Because he says it in the
Apoc
conversation with Sinister. He's like,
yes,
yeah, he
because in
talks
the Age of
about,
Apocalypse, what it is um Cyclops, Havoc, and a lot of like Beast. There's a Dark Beast,
yeah.
those guys are evil. Jean Grey is like a slave. Sinister has the DNA of everybody, so he realizes, ooh, this DNA with this DNA would make quite a powerful person. So he makes X-Man.
Oh, so he's a
Something
test tube
hap
baby.
Yes, something happens where, and this is just from my memory, would have to research this. I think he like escapes or somehow ends up with Forge and this kind of like Morlock-esque circus group that just travels around the Age of Apocalypse world,
Yeah.
and that's what they do. They do tricks and they perform, but secretly they're also working with the rebellion against Apocalypse. Eventually Sinister like finds him and wants to say, "Hey, look, I want you as my tool. That's why I created you, to kill Apocalypse, so that I can become the Apocalypse, and you'll be like my Sith Lord, so to speak,
Yeah,
or something."
yeah. I also
But
thought
so anyway,
these newer runs are the ones that originated Long Hair Sinister. That comes from Age of Apocalypse.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, long-haired Sinister was dope in the Age of
Yeah,
Apocalypse,
he
and
is. He's a good look.
I believe X-Men actually kills
Yeah.
the Age of Apocalypse Sinister. However, even in that world, everybody knew, like, well, I killed that Sinister. There might be a clone running around or
Yeah,
something, so
yeah.
I'm not sure.
He tells it
But
well,
no,
he haunts 616 Sinister with the idea that I he said that guy did way worse to me. The other guy, the Age of Apocalypse version of you, did way
right,
worse to me. I killed him. So just imagine what I'm gonna do to you,
right,
kind of shit. Yeah.
yeah. So no, so X-Men was so popular in those 4 months that even Marvel was like, "All right, so we gotta make sure this guy survives and comes over to the 616," which I was happy because I collected X-Men from issue number 1 all the way until it ended, and it lasted, I wanna say, like, 70 issues,
Oh my god, I
and
did not
then
know that.
yeah, and then it went on. The biggest thing he did right before Krakoa was he had he because this dude is so powerful. He's basically on unchecked cable.
Right.
So he has all these crazy ass powers, and he eventually can manipulate reality, and he creates his own Age of X, where it's like, oh, what if like everything good came about, but it's one of those like utopia dystopias that he creates,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then it all falls apart, and then Krakoa happened, and in Krakoa, it's stated that you can't have clones, if you remember.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
he's
they
not
were like,
allowed.
"Oh, he's not allowed." And I think the one of the last things he becomes like the shaman of the universe or something like that. So
Yeah.
he's technically even like a cosmic being at this point because you almost never because when they make character, like if you notice, even when they created this character, one of the first things they said was like, "Oh, he's so powerful that he's killing himself."
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's something they always do with certain characters, where like Silver Surfer, X-Man,
Favorite version of
um,
that. Not he wasn't killing himself, but in Civil War II, they create that Ulysses character, human,
yes,
and
yes.
he can like see the future and whatever. And then like that book ends with him going like, "Yeah, I'm above all of you guys. I'm gonna go hang out with like some Celestials and shit." And then he just
And then
disappears, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
and you never hear from him again.
I was like, "Yo, okay, I guess that is what you do with powerful characters. They just
Mhm.
disappear." I will say something that they did in this story that was visually interesting as hell was this is the first time I visually saw techno organic virus wigging the fuck out because Cable was so stressed and so trying to cover all his bases that he would just have these spikes of the virus
Yeah,
fighting
and it just
against
made
him.
his arm all gnarly and
That was the
shit.
first time I've ever
Well,
seen that.
yes, I mean, well, Cable's a character that from his inception till up until this point, and even now, well, especially when he first came out, was like, "What are we doing with this guy? Like, what is? Well, does he have a robot arm? No, no,
Yeah,
no, no. It's not a robot arm. It's the techno organic virus that made
yeah,
his arm like that. Like you can tell that was something they just changed along the way. Even the whole reason, another, I wish the roadmap for Marvel, but I remember it from reading this. He fought X-Man a couple issues prior to all this kicking off, and that's one of the things that makes his the technoganic virus go even crazier because he had to use so much more of the telekinesis and his powers to fight X-Man, that now he's like, oh shit, I let the HIV get a little
yeah,
out of
yeah, yeah.
course,
Now it's all
I don't got that Magic Johnson money, so
now it's running wild, brother. Hulk Hogan style. Okay, okay, that makes sense. Um, so Onslaught manifests before the X-Men at the mansion, offering them a chance to join his crusade, forcibly strip humanity of its free will. Fun stuff. The X-Men look at Onslaught and see the ruthless tyranny of Magneto rather than Xavier's dream. They refuse, unaware that Hank McCoy has already been replaced by his cruel Earth 295 counterpart, Darkbeat. A violent clash erupts. The X-Men force Onslaught to retreat, but the mansion is severely damaged. And that mansion is damaged for the rest of this thing. People just keep going to like the ruins of the X mansion for the rest of this. That's pretty interesting.
Mhm.
Um, Deep within a psi-shielded chamber beneath the mansion, Jean Grey probes Juggernaut's mind, breaking through Onslaught's mental block to discover the ultimate truth. Onslaught is Charles Xavier. Jean urges Marco to flee, but as he navigates the mansion's shifting corridors, Onslaught manifests, rips the crimson gem of Sidorak from his chest, and reduces him to a helpless human being uh, before trapping him inside the gem's pocket realm. When Cyclops confronts Xavier about the break-in, he finds his mentor uncharacteristically cool, dismissive, and sporting a sinister grin. This is when Jean's like, "You see, this motherfucker's like, yeah, because she just found out," and then she goes to the meeting because he's like, "Hey, all my X-Men, come over here real quick." And basically, his meeting is like, "The humans suck. We're giving up on the whole like being nice
Yeah,
to them shit. It's not working.
right,
Everyone's dying. It's not working." And yeah, so Jean's like, "What
right,
the fuck is going on here?" I
yeah,
also love that they someone couldn't decide what psychic attacks should look like. So at various points in this book, psychic attacks is just like rainbow colors at certain
yeah.
times. or whatever, waves of psionic beams and stuff like that. I understand like a lot of this stuff is untested, what psychic beams should look like, etc. But I thought it was funny whenever there was a psychic attack, what they used to kind of denote that in the art.
all the time.
Your boy on here that I've only ever heard on here. I'm gonna butcher his name. Is it Madera?
Joe Madureira.
Madureira's art is amazing.
I love
It's
it.
really, really, really good. I know you've mentioned that before. I've never read one of his books. This would have been like right in the middle of him doing a lot of great stuff, and just nails these character designs, the shadowing, the emotion. I found myself just kind of like looking at so many of the panels, just like really liking the composition of it. Cyclops looks badass throughout this entire story, in my opinion. He has several like cuts to him where he just looks like he's over it and fucking, he's down for it.
Yeah, revisiting this and seeing Joe Mad's art is so refreshing. I know for a fact I still have all of the Uncanny X-Men issues
Okay.
that he did. He did like I want to say he did at least 40 or 50 issues on Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
And from that, he took all that money and then started creating her own stuff. And that stuff has led into video games.
Yeah.
He's an amazing artist. Like you said, he brought that manga influence into like a premier comic book, up until that. Remember, this is the mid-90s. People are barely watching anime and barely reading manga at this point.
Yeah.
And so to see that show up in a comic book influence at that time, it was like, whoa, what is this? Like everybody talked about Uncanny X-Men's art when he was on it. And to the point where he's still making money off of it.
I mean, you consider like you were talking about earlier, what a blow it was to have those Image guys leave, right? And this just felt, in some ways, depending on your artistic taste, almost like a little bit of an improvement. It felt like a cleaner version of what they were doing. And I don't want to step on any toes by saying that. I'm saying that like as somebody who just appraised a 30-year-old piece of art that everyone has already spoken about, talked about, debate about. This is just me going, I thought this was cool.
And it wasn't just him, because I believe it was Andy Kubert that was doing the other side, the others. Yep. So Kubert's killing it on it. Joe Madureira's killing it on it. Mike Deodato.
Yep, Mike Deodato's on this. Yep.
Like now, Mike Deodato is like awesome. Now you could tell this was early Mike Deodato, where he was still cleaning himself up, but still like Marvel had felt like his artists.
It felt like his first mission, like what they've told him, his edict was like get it to look like the other stuff. And so like it looks like it starts in that era, and then he starts being like, I'm just gonna do it the way I want to, kind of, So like when I first started, I'm like, a lot of these lines feel Jim Lee, like they feel, but then he evolves his style, and you should never hire an artist to ape another artist's style. Let them get their own sort of. But that was the identity of the book.
You said. Yes, you can totally tell, especially when like the Kuberts first took over after Jim Lee and whatnot left. Like I have it back here, Executioner Song. That was like when they first jumped on the book, and you could tell Marvel probably told them, "Yo, make this look as much like Jim Lee as possible, because we want to make this transition smooth." But then once we get to this, you start to see Kubert's like, "I'm going to show you what I can do."
Yeah,
and even his stuff on this stuff. Oof, I loved his work on this.
Really, really good. A breaking point arrives as Xavier watches news broadcasts of anti-mutant lynchings and Graydon Creed's hate speech. Consumed by hopelessness and rage, Xavier surrenders entirely to the darkness inside of him. He allows Onslaught to take full control. Graydon Creed is not related to Victor, is he?
Yes, he's actually the son. He's the son of Victor Creed and Raven Darkholme, aka Mystique.
What? My God. So they definitely hint at their own like little background, and I did not know that they had a background. I remember from House of M that her and Logan have a background, or have a backstory, or whatever. And there's constantly like weird, only in Madripoor kind of shit that they get up to. It feels like her and Logan. Maybe she just has stuff for the Pharaoh people. You know what it is? You're right. I did know that Graydon Creed was related. My mind, for some reason, just was thinking of Wild Child. Because Wild Child shows up in this, and I'm like, oh, this has to be like all new, all different Sabretooth. Like, this has to be like the young, and they're like, no. And then I'm like, well, okay, like, it has to be related. Nope. I'm like, no, there's no relation to this guy who looks exactly like thing. But I saw a post on Reddit that made me feel better that said Sabretooth's been around for so long and he doesn't seem like the kind of person that would keep track of any of his seeds. So there's nothing to say that it's not like a third generation from, Civil
It
War
could be.
kind of situation. That makes me
Sure.
feel a little better. Because they like even to the outfits, to the yellow and the brown, to the
Yeah.
to the teeth, all of it, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, Wild Child's obviously we're gonna be, he's gonna be like, hey Pop, or whatever, never happens.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like, oh
I
damn.
mean, that was a whole interesting thing because that was, I feel like the whole Sabretooth Wild Child in this universe, especially following Age of Apocalypse, was because of Age of Apocalypse. In the Age of Apocalypse, Sabretooth is a good guy. He's
Okay.
actually a good guy. And Wild Child is like his surrogate pet slash child slash thing. He literally keeps him on a chain and he carries him on his back. He's like his little
I didn't
pet.
make that guy a baby face with that though.
And he was. It was like you felt bad for him in the Age of Apocalypse. Like, oh, he was so manipulated by they had these like the prisons. So he was,
Yeah,
like a prison child. So it was like Sabretooth's like, I keep him on a chain to keep him under control, but this is how I do. And I feel like the popularity from that, they were like, okay, whatever he comes back to in the 616, we gotta have Wild Child around because everybody likes Wild Child now.
very interesting. Yeah, popularity will yeah, they will interject their ass in there for popularity reasons. Um, Dumb but important question. The M that's burned into Bishop, is that from Age of Apocalypse or is that from Days of Future?
That's from his future. In his future, they put an M on
But his
people's
future is
faces if
not
they're
Days of
mutant.
Future Past.
Um, I believe not.
That's where I got
Because it,
confused because I thought that Age of Apocalypse was a dystopian future that Cable was coming back to warn us about. Or sorry, Bishop, both of them actually. I felt like both of them in some kind of way, which kind of come to warn us about
I
something like that.
hate time travel.
You do,
I've said this many times.
yes.
What I do know of this, and I could be wrong, this could be something that was retconned and something that I missed or didn't care about because I hate time travel. But all of these futures are different futures in like different possibilities, but also some of them are further in different futures.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Like Cable is farther in the future than Bishop.
Yes.
So I believe they're like on the same timeline. It's just one's farther along than the other. So in Bishop's world, might be in Days of the Future's Past world. He could be around a little bit after that world. I'm not sure. I just know in whatever time period world that he's from, the M is something they did to everybody who was a mutant.
Okay. Well, our boy decides that he wants to get up and watch. He's sitting in his chair. Apocalypse. He's hanging out with Uatu. They're both kind of like watching everything go down between this. They're having like an omnipotent conversation between two omnipotent beings for the most part. The Avengers and Gambit track electromagnetic and anomalies to Virginia, where they find Joseph, an amnesiac. Am I saying that right? DA's and a heroic clone of Magneto, accompanied by Rogue. Realizing he no longer possesses the villain's malice, they recruit him to the cause. This didn't pass the sniff test for me, but maybe I'm just a person who doesn't forgive easily. Because I'm just like, I think she's like, oh, I looked in his eyes. He just doesn't have that same killer instinct anymore. And I'm like, he has amnesia. I've seen enough of these stories. All it takes is the bonk to the head with a frying pan, and he'll be back
That's
to
it.
fucking
That's it.
pulling your best friend's skeleton out. Did you buy this at the time? Did you buy Joseph, the
Uh,
babyface Magneto here?
I I did, and I'm
Okay.
mad that I did because see, this is all after Xavier ripped out his psyche in the comics.
Yeah.
Magneto's just in a coma for a long time. Um, so then what happens when the Age of Apocalypse ends, the Holocaust, they find him in space because the and Magneto's acolytes are still living in Asteroid M.
Okay.
So they bring in Holocaust is he's like I said, he's like trapped in ice in space or trapped in the Micron crystal. I don't remember exactly what it was. He was trapped in it. And when they break him open, he destroys Asteroid M. asteroid M the falls to Earth, and it seems like Magneto bonks his head in his coma because remember he's mind wiped,
Yeah.
and then he wakes up at like what do you call it? What do you put a covenant, a
Yeah. Yeah.
convent,
Yeah. Yeah.
a bunch of nuns, and he wakes up in the Magneto outfit, and he's like, "Who the hell am I?"
Right.
And because I believe the nuns are like, "Oh, you're like Joseph," that's why he gets the name Joseph.
Yeah.
And it read so beautifully as a kid. You know, I also vaguely remember even at that point that Magneto was a hero for a time being,
That's what I was
right?
gonna ask you. Do you think this was a continuation of the popularity of him as a babyface in Age of Apocalypse?
Not just in Age of Apocalypse, but also even prior to that.
Okay.
Because even remember, even when Magneto comes back in X-Men #1 to be a villain again, he had just been a hero. You know, the whole remember the purple suit
Yeah. Yeah.
Magneto
Yeah. The one they
that
show in X-Men '97.
yes, that happens in the comics
Pilot
where
Magneto.
yeah, all of that happens where he does make a complete a heel turn, right? Is that what we say? Heel
Babyface.
turn, babyface.
Yeah.
He turned to babyface.
Hmm.
And so he does that, and then he kind of goes away because he realizes, okay, I'm bad, but I'm gonna go away. I'm not gonna cause any problems until he says, "Listen, I made Asteroid M. I'm gonna take all the mutants away. Leave me alone." The government decides to shoot missiles at him, and then the whole fight ensues. To them, when eventually when Magneto's like, "Look, again, I just want to take the mutants away, but if you turn this into a fight, it's going to be a big deal," which leads to
Wolverine
fatal
getting.
attractions and Wolverine. Yes, so I still saw that, and now I'm like, "Oh, this is his final opportunity to become a good guy by being having amnesia,
Hmm.
and maybe this will lead to Magneto being a good guy forever." So I played right into this,
What'd you think
and
of him
you
and
would
Rogue?
it was sweet. It was sweet because I was also see that was something that happened in the Age of Apocalypse that I really liked. Magneto and Rogue do get together in the Age of Apocalypse, and they even have a kid. So I was like, "Oh, look at that! Magneto can actually be intimate with her
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like Gambit could never do that."
Right.
And what's cool is even Joseph eventually after this whole story arc does make a device that lets him touch her.
Oh wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So were you not a big Gambit guy? You not mind that Gambit was kind of sidelined and something like that?
Well, I didn't mind it because I mean, Gambit had a sordid history
Yeah.
and he couldn't touch Rogue. So it was like,
It
but
felt more like a
meanwhile, you
will they
see,
won't they more than like them actually getting together.
yes, yeah. And then when you're coming out of Age of Apocalypse, where you see, oh wow, like Magneto could be a good guy, Magneto can touch her, they can have children. It seems
You
like the
felt
more
happier
logical
there.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm
So I
just
didn't
used to
mind it.
those two. So like to me, this happened kind of fast. Like like she was like, "Oh, look,
Well, no,
he
no.
doesn't know
See,
his
all right,
memories. He doesn't have his
see from
memories."
where see that's upsetting. From where you're reading it,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But there's issues before where you read it that show the developing of the relationship more.
Okay. Because to me, it was like I think he's hot and he doesn't remember who he is. I got to keep him away from everybody else to keep him good. That
Yeah,
felt
because
like
I mean,
that felt like a ticking time bomb situation. You're being selfish. You're trying to keep this amnesiac man to yourself so that you guys could be happy. But he is, he's I mean, like a Hitlerian figure. You know what I'm saying? Like he is somebody
yeah,
who wants to cause the death of a bunch of people, and I don't think you get to have your happy and ever after married to or shacking up with a ticking time bomb. Somebody who
right.
his bomb is will eventually go off eventually. But you know,
Because
it
the issue you're referring to, I think, was the Avengers issue, right?
I think so because I think they tell the Avengers too, like we found Magneto. Let's all go over there and fucking like show them
Yes,
what's what.
there was already a few issues prior
Yeah,
where they show that like Rogue and Magneto, because even when Rogue first sees Joseph, they get into a fight, but it's in a previous issue. I'm trying to remember.
I
Yeah,
think
it
I saw
was.
that one because that's when I'm saying that where she's like, I don't see the pain in his eyes or whatever. She's like, I don't see that's not the man that we fought a million times
Did you do you
before or whatever. Because
do you
there's a moment.
remember reading? Do you remember reading X-Men Unlimited #11?
I'm not 100%. I do know that there's a moment in the comic where like they cut to her and she's smiling and it's like he's saying all this sweet stuff in her head, and then they cut to him and he's smiling. It's like a rom com level of like, and I'm like, what is it? I'm like, yo, they are just. Yeah, I feel like did you catch up to 97?
Yeah, I'm caught up.
Okay, without this is not really a major spoiler, but at one point, Xavier's like, his name is Apocalypse. Like, what are we trying to do here? And like that's how I felt with this. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt like a
Yes,
very similar story where it's like, hey, if everyone's just nice to him, maybe he'll grow up to be a good guy. And I'm like,
like
yeah,
no,
maybe, but
man.
fuck, man. Like this is you're playing gambling. You're gambling with the house money. Like this is so crazy. Um, Nate Gray is placed under the protection of X-Force. However, Mr. Sinister ambushes their hideout to capture Nate. Sinister taunts Nate, revealing that Nate's arrival from the Age of Apocalypse timeline and his physical extraction of Xavier from the astral plane inadvertently provided Onslaught with the energy needed to manifest his armored physical shell. Sinister overpowers the team and abducts Nate. That was like a nothing burger because they like all attack him. Or no, Nate attacks him with like psychic powers, and he just like absorbs, shoots it back at them. They all pass out, and then he just like drags Nate like out of
Yep,
the room. And I was
yep.
like, wow, that's an open and shut case. Tell me about Random. Is that his name?
Yes, that is his name.
What's
R-
going on with Random, bro?
Random. All right. See, here's where time manipulation and all this stuff comes into effect. So
Okay,
Random was this anti-hero, right? That shows up from my recollection in the pages of X Factor.
okay,
He's the definition of 90s cool, right?
right, yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
big.
He's been
He's like as
Diesel.
big as the Hulk. Yeah, he's like as big as the Hulk. He's got a bandana. He's got glasses. I think he's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
And then what you later find out is he's actually a mutant, like a teenager. He can just manipulate his body. So he
Yes.
makes himself look like an adult.
Uh huh.
You then come to find out, again, because I think Dark Beast and Sugar Man, when they come from the Age of Apocalypse to the 616, they also actually time travel. They go back. So it turns out that Dark Beast and Sugar Man were the reasons why Random um like they influenced him,
Okay.
so that eventually they would have their own
Like a
team,
pawn, like
right?
a
Like a
pawn
pawn. So they
for
have
Onslaught.
or whoever they end up teaming up
Oh,
with,
okay,
because
yeah, yeah,
Dark Beast is just a coward, right? The whole he's not even infiltrating the X-Men. He's hiding.
yeah. He
He
has
switches
like
with
underground labs and shit, doesn't he?
yeah,
Doing a
he's
bunch
just
of weird
hiding.
shit underground.
He's just hiding until like he can figure out when's the best time to come out. So in the meantime, he's just like influencing things, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna get this guy as a pawn, or I'm gonna manipulate Havoc and make Havoc my guy. I'm gonna do all these little machina. Oh, Fatal was like a
Yes.
character I think that came out of
They
nowhere.
said that he smelled like Beast. Is she a McCoy? Is she like some kind of? Unless I read that wrong. When she showed up, they're like, "Oh, I smell another one of yours." Maybe he meant the clone. Maybe he meant like a genetic
Oh,
creation or something
I
like
didn't even,
that.
I didn't catch that. I just remember just all the 90s goodness of a lot of this stuff. The way it just happens. But I really like that X-Men Unlimited issue where it shows how when Dark Beast kidnaps Beast and they swap. It's a
Okay.
really good issue. I would
But
highly
when I
recommend. It was like
start, he's
X-Men Unlimited,
already.
like
Yeah, when I
he's
start,
yes.
he's already
Mhm.
like chained up and stuff like that. He's trying to drink water
Yes.
from a
Yep,
drop, and
and that's
it
how he leaves
spills
him.
the whole thing.
He leaves him behind a brick wall with like a dripping hamster water. And he's just like, yeah, I'll come get you when I need information out of you.
It says little is known about Fatal, but it is possible that Dark Beast created her. I think makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, yeah, she came out of nowhere. Random's out of nowhere. Random has a crush on Polaris.
Polaris. Yep.
Polaris is in love with Alex. This
Yeah.
isn't Alex. This is Proletate Summers, which was
Well,
the rank
because
of the evil people in Age of
yes,
Apocalypse and
yeah.
stuff. Because when I looked that up,
Which really pissed me off because this is again Havoc is one of my favorite X-Men simply because he has my name. It's just that
yeah,
when you're when you're 10 years old, it's just those simple things, right? And
yes,
I've just always like, but what stinks is when you look at the history of Havoc, he's constantly manipulated, he's constantly brainwashed, he's constantly flip-flopping, he's
yeah.
whiny, he's not the leader that Scott Summers is. I'm just like, come on, man. So in this, it's just like, oh, Dark Beast, manipulates him and turns him evil. I'm like, oh, come on.
looking at the X Factor team, it did seem like they were trying to get as close to the X-Men kind of chemistry of the people in it as best possible. That's why you team up the Alex and Polaris in the kind of Jean and Scott kind of way there. But yeah, he's
Absolutely.
instantly evil in this. Like when he started off, he's already evil.
Mhm.
Then like they have him dead to rights, and then he's like, "But I love you, baby." And she's like, "I love you too." And then he pulls out
Yeah.
his gun, like he connects the energy, and random's like, "Yo, what the fuck? I've been trying to tell you that he was up to no good. He gets blasted anyway." This is what I was talking about. Wolverine and Elektra track the Mystic Gateway to Massachusetts Academy through Gateway's Aurora visions. Wolverine relives the trauma of losing his adamantium on Avalon and witnesses the exact moment Magneto's evil essence seeped into Xavier's mind. I want to say at some point I saved that panel because it was so exposition heavy, where they were like, "Hey, you see it? That's like the literal badness of Magneto walking into the heart of Xavier." But then,
And he touches it.
yes, but I love Logan. Again, like I feel like some people had a real handle on what the story could be, but Logan is written to say like this wasn't like all Charles. Like, I'm sorry, this wasn't all Magneto. Charles had to have gotten himself in a state of anger to allow that stuff to come through and get him. So he is not.
Mhm.
His hands are not clean of this either, which I thought
Oh, absolutely not.
was very interesting there. Later, he has like a heart to heart fight with Stick, like
Yeah.
just randomly just has a heart to heart.
You
So
can't become a full animal. You gotta, it's just like, can we have this discussion when there's not a blazing inferno
yes,
happening?
yes, please. It's also interesting because like the Daredevil Netflix show is what introduced me to Stick outright. I had never heard of that character outside of this. I had never read him, none of that stuff. I think he's an incredibly interesting character. And used in stuff like this, I'm like, oh, like it just surprises me that in '03 they never considered like even kind of touching on that character with Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck?
Yeah, they
Hmm.
eventually bring in. Do you know who they bring in to play him? Because he shows up in
The
Elektra.
whatchamacallit? The guy who was Zod
Yeah,
in Superman.
Terror Stamp.
Yeah, Terrence Stamp. Terrence
Terror
Stamp.
Stamp.
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought he was great. I liked him as that, but also around the I think in the comics they had already killed him off by that point
Yeah,
too.
because he's dead when he finds Wolverine. He's like, "What does it matter? What does it matter that I'm dead or whatever the fuck?" And he starts fighting. He's like, "Aren't you dead?" Like, what does it matter that I'm dead? But they found a way with the Marvel Netflix to like adapt because stick that's in Elektra is like white man doing karate stick. I don't mean to say that.
Yes.
I don't mean to say that too crazy. But I love like patrol cap. I love weird grizzled veteran that just looks like a regular dude stick, and that's the dude. That's the one that shows up to fight Wolverine in this. He has the green army patrol cap. He has the green
Yes. Yeah. 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 I
thing.
remember.
Like
I remember.
I like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
look for that character. I think that
Yes.
look is
Well, then
really
I think that they
badass.
they pulled off that look in the Daredevil show.
100%. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
saying like you see it and you're like, this should always have been it. Like this should have always like even Elektra. She gets questioned in this about Stick.
Mhm.
She gets brought up in this. Uh, I don't know how I feel about this Pharaoh Logan. I don't
Well,
like. Yeah, go
and
ahead. Yeah,
you could tell all everybody in Marvel wasn't sure what to do with Pharaoh Logan because
yeah.
every issue he looks completely different until they never even explain how he gets back to normal. I think a one line just happens where it's like, yeah, his healing factor finally made him look regular again.
So what happens in
Throughout
'97?
this,
Without spoiling it, what happens in '97 doesn't happen in the comics. Or
what
or,
happens in
or
'97 happens in the
re-injection.
comics, but the re-injection is what causes him to go feral. And they mentioned, I don't know if you read any of that stuff, but they mentioned how a character by the name of Genesis, who is actually Cable's son, grown up, Tyler Dayspring, eventually becomes evil. It's during a time when they think Apocalypse is dead.
Okay.
So Tyler becomes evil and he wants to become Apocalypse. He gets Wolverine and he's like, "Ooh, I'll turn Wolverine into one of my horsemen. I'll put the adamantium back in him. I'll brainwash him. It'll go great." This is Wolverine number 100, 25 issues after Wolverine loses the adamantium.
Oh wow.
but Wolverine rejects it. Because he's like, oh, if you, he's like, Wolverine's like, I'm not gonna let myself become a slave of Apocalypse Junior.
Yeah, yeah.
So he rejects it. But when he rejects it, it turns him into this feral, crazy looking Wolverine. With his bone claws become more bony,
Pronounced.
pronounced. He gets big toenails. His costume doesn't fit right. He suddenly has to wear bandanas to cover his head. He gets his own theme song that's like Teenage Mutant Wolverine or something.
Ridiculous. In the grand scheme, it doesn't seem like he did much in this story. Am I wrong?
No,
This
he
feels
didn't.
like the Indiana Jones thing, where like if he was not around, I think they could have still gotten to where they had to get to with a lot of this stuff.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I feel like they threw the Wolverine because even the fact that all this happens in Wolverine in issue of Wolverine, I
Yeah,
always laughed about. I was like, wow, they really just threw that a bone, or they were like, oh, it's Wolverine, so like make it because he'll feel bad because it's somehow his fault because of he got the adamantium ripped out of him. But it was just like this revelation that Magneto poisoned the psyche of Xavier was like this should have happened in X-Men or Uncanny X-Men.
yeah, yeah,
Why is
yeah,
this happening in an issue of Wolverine?
yeah. With
I was
Elektra,
I
so
was
it's
laughing
not.
about
They
that.
don't even have the confidence to just have him do this adventure by himself. They threw Elektra in there
Yeah.
like eye
Well, because
candy.
Elektra's his guide,
Oh yes,
because
yes.
again, they're even they are still playing with the idea that he's more feral, he's more animal than
But I don't see
before.
it. Besides him talking, like I mean, what quite literally, besides his lettering being more
Yes.
jagged,
Oh
I
my
don't.
god.
Yeah, and besides him talking like a '90s, like you said, a '90s badass or whatever, it's not like he never lost his cool. It's not like he ever like just started wigging out or like wrote, like we're having an X meeting. Logan, stop eating rats. Like he's not doing anything that you would.
No, I mean, and right. That's because by this point he had been feral for a couple months.
Okay.
The first thing he does when he goes feral, when he breaks out of Genesis's thing, is he kills Genesis. He kills a bunch of the Dark Riders, and people are like terrified to talk to him. He barely talks,
Mm-hmm.
but then just slowly but surely is just like, let him talk. Let him walk a little bit more upright. Put boots on him.
Okay. So
And it
this
just
should have been
becomes
like a
like,
way bigger de-evolution, but
yeah.
story dictated that they needed regular Logan around to talk
And then
and bounce off
eventually
of
they
people and stuff.
eventually they just forget this. And then soon thereafter, funny enough, he becomes a horseman of apocalypse
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
gets the adamantium back, and then it's just like ta-da.
Um, there was a thing with Warren Worthington where they walk into his room and they find like a feather on the ground, and they also find like
Yes.
shards on the ground. Do they ever get back to that? That's
Yes, that's actually one of my
Archangel,
favorite
right?
issues. Yes, that's one of my favorite issues of Uncanny X-Men ever, drawn again by Joe Madureira,
Okay,
where what happens in like the next issue or two, you find out that Archangel, he's losing the metal wings.
okay.
And in a beautiful, you could probably look it up. It's a beautiful piece of art where the wings break off, the metal wings break out, and he has this feather wings back.
Ah,
And it
okay.
happens at a church. And it's basically at the time seeming like Apocalypse is releasing him. Like,
Yeah, I was
you're
thinking
not.
it was the other way around because Apocalypse keeps talking about like I'm in the background, I'm waiting. So I didn't know if he like changed him back to Archangel. They never address it because it's a uncanny X-Men storyline, and then they bounce back over to like mainline to do the everything else to clean up the rest of it. So I just thought that was interesting, but I didn't know exactly where it went. But I also
Yeah.
love that in this era of Pharaoh Logan, Jean is not giving that kid a wink. She's not. There's no. She's giving up. She's like, you know what, man? That I thought I wanted a guy from the hood, but he too hood for me. I'm, I'm moving upstate to Westchester,
You
and
know,
we hanging here because I'm not. Yeah, he just tried to serve me a
you don't
squirrel
want
or something.
you don't want to come with me and like give me a pedicure.
Yeah, want half of this
I need it.
squirrel I
I need it.
caught.
No,
I'll
because
share it
even
with you.
there was like an issue before this where he's so feral that he's like licking people.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, it was that bad. It was that, and
Ridiculous.
then they would eventually you could just tell like, yo, just stop it. Just
They've
we're gonna
never
we're gonna
known what they wanted to do with him, huh? He just feels like a character that the more they try to dive into what makes him him, the more confused they become. Because I know that at one point, not to get off too much on a tangent, but I hear about the invention of Romulus, and Romulus shows up, and it's like this idea that they're all come from a long line of like lupines or whatever the hell, and
Yep.
there's various versions of them, and all this other. He's not actually immune. He's a member of whatever this ancient wolf people or something else that
Mhm.
goes on like that. But yeah, some of this stuff, man, I know it's ridiculous on the face of it, but we don't need deep dives. We don't need explanations. Just continue business as usual.
Mhm.
Um, Cyclops, Jean, and Cannonball travel to Muir Island. Moira McTaggart helps them unlock a secret chamber containing the Xavier protocols, a vault of lethal failsafes designed by Xavier to kill any X-Men, including himself should they go rogue. Nothing happens of this. Am I right? Okay.
Nothing. I think a later storyline addresses this, but I always felt like, why wouldn't he have it? Like, this shouldn't be like a shocker.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there opening your doors to people with random powers that can do all types of reality altering or create concussive blast or can wipe people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
I would do the same thing, man. I
Yeah.
do that with my friends, my regular friends. Like, yo, I know this dude. If I say the wrong word, I gotta write this down. I can't say this word.
Yeah.
And if I do say this word, I gotta call this phone number.
Mm-hmm.
So why the hell wouldn't you do this with people who have the ability to just wipe out reality, who are just
Yeah.
coming into your house? You know what I mean? So when everybody turns it into, oh my God, like I can't believe you're doing this. Uh, did you not see what like, happened in my house
You
2
not
days
see what
ago?
happened a couple weeks ago. We were just dealing with this shit. Dark Phoenix Saga. Anyone? She blew up a
You know,
planet. We had to
you know what I'm
go to
saying? Like,
trial in space and shit. It was weird. I don't want to deal with that shit no more.
so, so it's not shocking at all. Like he has files on how to kill Wolverine, how to deal with Cyclops, how to melt Iceman. Hell
So
yeah.
like, so like in my mind, I'm thinking because I'm trying to connect all these dots, right? So in my mind, I'm like, oh snap, Onslaught's out. Onslaught is free, and he has access to the Xavier protocols. He's gonna one by one kill these dudes. Like he has, act doesn't care, doesn't couldn't care less. Doesn't matter. So in the grand scheme of things, I think you're right. I think you're supposed to have some sort of uh failsafe eventually, but it's very strange. That's a big hammer to drop and then nuke the continuity. Like, hey, by the way, and then
Eh,
like I said, these were seeds that were meant to have us distrust Xavier. But
yep,
ultimately, like he's done worse shit. I think it was worse when he sent that first team of X-Men to die before he created the actual X-Men. That's
yep.
worse than this, I think.
Darwin, and I can't remember the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, one of the summers, Gabriel Vulcan.
yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
you have a third brother, but shh.
Yeah, like that's way worse than any of this. That's way worse than I think I like Gene. I have those first I want to say 30 issues in the Marvel Masterworks collection. And
Uh,
the funniest thing is when Jean gets there, it's like they've never seen a girl before.
oh yeah,
Everyone's
well,
like, "Oh my god, hey, whoa, 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 hey, hot stuff.
hey,
What
hey.
are you doing over here?" kind of stuff. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, so the fact that Xavier felt that way, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Plus, you've seen Mad Men. You've seen what men do with the only women in the office or the only women at the job. Like this felt like very much like that. Not saying that it was good. I'm just saying what happened. Oh, that's all I'm saying,
It's just
people.
what it was, man. It
What
was
it
just what it
was.
was.
Um, Disguised as Xavier, Onslaught attempts to convince Reed and Sue Richards to relinquish custody of Franklin. I love that. He just like shows up to the Baxter building. It's like, yeah,
Yep.
I think we should take your son. And they're like, what?
Like,
I was thinking about it. I think, yeah.
you I
Um,
could train him to be the best X-Man ever. Come on. What is he doing here? What is he doing here? Hanging out with Herbie? Come on.
yeah. And then they're like, nah. And then he's like, oh, fuck it. I'm Onslaught anyway, and I'm taking him. And
All
so he
right.
turns to Onslaught. He overpowers the Fantastic Four, takes Franklin by force. Um, Dark Beast, Havoc, Fatal, and Random hijack an army of Sentinels at Falls Edge. X Factor engages them. During the chaos, Random betrays X Factor, as we were talking about, because he had been a part of the
Mhm.
Dark Beast thing for a while now. And Havoc unleashes his full power against Polaris. However, X Factor frees the native Earth 616, Hank McCoy, who captures Dark Beast and stops their immediate assault, so they cannot prevent the Sentinels from launching. I did not have any idea how big the Sentinel thing was going to be. I mean, it's big on the face of it, you know. Um, in the case of like seeing the sequel before the first movie, my Sentinel thing was uh Kenosha.
Right.
Like that
Well,
was
yeah,
my
you're right.
Sentinel touchstone thing.
And this
So
and
the
this was
idea that
what
this
and this was
predates
way
it,
before this was way before this. Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna see
Yeah,
it.
and this was because I mean at this point the Sentinels hadn't been seen in a while, and the fact that he's unleashing them on everybody. Like he sent them to all the big cities. We only see it in Manhattan apparently, but
Okay.
he's in Manhattan, and then soon thereafter he's fighting Spider-Man, and he's going after humans, and he's fighting the Avengers. And like they're supposed as every time the Sentinels show up, they're always a more deadlier form. So
Yeah,
like these
that's
Sentinels
also
are
very
are
strange. I've seen them like swat these guys out of the sky, but these guys are more dangerous as they purport to be here. I'm looking
freaking
for.
giant man eventually jobs to one of them.
I have a bunch of random ass panels that I saved from this I thought were very interesting, including I don't know if you can see this, but this is Sabretooth pulling Mystique by her hair before she falls into a hole. They have
Oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
and she's
Well, I
like
think that was
dancing.
Wild Child. I think that was Wild Child that did that.
No, it's Sabretooth because this is when they
It's
are.
Sabretooth? Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. Sabretooth versus Beast was badass.
Oh
Sabretooth at
yeah,
one point is
yeah,
like, I will just slit your throat. He's like,
yeah,
he's just with one finger. He's like, I will fucking. So he says, what? No $10 words, Beast? No witty repartee? Aren't you going to do anything other than bleed? Guess not. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
damn, Victor. Like, this is. I'm dealing with that here.
Well, and the
It,
only reason he does it is because I guess something I don't know if it was communicated well in the issues you read or you caught onto it was Sabretooth and Mystique are not happily on X Factor. It's
no,
part of
they're
their
for the
jail
government,
sentence.
right? Yeah, it's the
Yeah, and
government.
they have Forge put stuff in there like brains that he can
Suicide
control them.
Squad style.
There you go.
Okay. I don't know if you can see this too. This was just a panel of
Oh
it's a
yeah, yeah. The Sentinel, like looking at the Statue of Liberty. I like that panel too. I
and
was
it's
like,
way
oh,
and
that's
it's
funny.
little. Like it's in the grand scheme of multiple of them standing there.
Yeah,
But
it's
just
just
having
it was
one of
just
them
one,
look,
just one looking at him like,
I had to snap that. I had to snap
"Are
that
you my
picture.
mom?"
I thought that picture was really really cool. I have the one of Owatu just saying like I've done my job or whatever. He's not done anything. He's just been standing there, but it's like I've
Yep.
done my job. Um uh yeah, there were just some fucking awesome moments in this. The one of Odin, he's on Earth now, very similar to the Thor Ragnarok. Is it
Uh huh.
Ragnarok? Yeah, where he's on Earth and he's
Yep.
homeless. And
Yeah, he's like an old folks home or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So right now he's on Earth because of whatever happened. He's in regular clothes, and he's trying to tell people that he's Odin. And this panel says, "I am Odin. I gave you life." And somebody walks by him and goes, "What are you high, old man?"
I don't. Was
Stuff
that
like
it?
that. There's a panel of Franklin Richards talking to Onslaught where he goes, "I don't want to conquer any worlds."
Yeah. Right. Why? Come on.
um, a panel that of Onslaught talking. No, I think it might have been Onslaught or Sinister talking that says the seed of summers must be harvested, which that feels a little on the nose. I'm like, what is? I'm like, I gotta save some of this stuff. Just quality stuff. When all of them are on the roof, when the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four are all on the roof, and they're like, we gotta figure out what's going on. It's just a bad like splash page. Everyone just
Yes.
standing there, and
Hmm.
as I'm reading this, knowing that it goes on to Heroes Reborn, it did really feel like they were trying to give you a lot of moments of like, those are the heroes I knew. Those are the heroes I messed with. I know there's been a lot of confusion in between, but we're kind of back. They're restoring the feeling that I had. Not me, right? Because I was reading at the time,
It,
but I'm saying it felt
yeah.
like that's what they were trying to do.
It's
Um,
definitely a combination of that, and it's also I feel like because these creative teams knew that this was their swan song for their runs, they're like, "Yo, we're going to try to give these guys as many badass moments as possible,"
yeah,
because they're about to hand off all these characters to a whole new creative team.
yeah,
So they're like, "All right, we're going to give them their big finales."
the Swan Song.
Mhm.
Onslaught takes telepathic control of the Hulk and sends him on a destructive rampage. And Cable's the one who ends up engaging with him. That's really really fun. Cable against the Incredible Hulk. Um,
Those were I really even in my reread, I remembered those issues. I love that because even before that, the first person he sends directly at Cable is Post.
yes,
Did you read those?
yes, uh huh.
Okay, so you find out like their secret history that they had.
Mm-hmm.
and then Post is like, "Well, I can't kill you because you saved me back in the day."
Right.
But I beat. He's like talking. I was always upset by that too. Like he remember when Onslaught is like telepathically talking to Post, and Post is
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna kill him. I beat his ass enough."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a classic moment where the villain goes, "Fuck you,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and kills
Please,
him.
please double tap.
But instead he's just like, okay, I'll just send the Hulk after him.
Right.
Like, but it also made me go, well, when are you gonna get involved, man?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, when you're dealing with, and I guess it's different. I think you have to throw different villains at Cable because of his psychic abilities, because of I guess his background and stuff like that. But he could have just sent everyone at Cable. Like it's not like everyone was busy. There was a bunch of people just hanging
Yeah,
out. But I don't know what Fatal's doing nowadays. You know what I'm
yeah, right.
saying? He could have sent her ass through. Um, but yeah, I really really like the end of that fight. Um, Storm ends up resuscitating Cable with a bolt of lightning, and then they have like a moment. And I'm like, was
Yes.
everybody screwing in the X universe
I
at
mean,
this
hey,
time? What's going on?
I think that's one of the things where you fast forward to like Hickman's Krakoa run, and I think even he's like, well, it seemed like they were all hooking up anyway. They're
Yeah,
all
yeah,
living in the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
school,
yeah.
midnight partying, a couple
Time to
beers.
populate more. Time to populate
You know,
the the mutant.
right. That was one of the That's one of the Krakoan things, right? Got to make more mutants.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I mean, why not, right? Storm and Cable. Why
How do
not?
you show up to the summer's home, Storm? With Cable, how do you show up when you're to your home girl Jean and Scott's house and be like, by the way, I'm banging your son, like your super advanced future son? I just think it's a little weird. But then again, I hear recently, or more recently, Havoc and Madeline Pryor were a thing. Talk about a double date
Oh
there. Talk about a double date there. Like
yeah.
that's really
Well, I mean,
interesting.
you never did you. Well, one that was big. Even that goes back to when oh, what was that dumb event with her that I couldn't stand?
Oh, Inferno.
Inferno. Yes. Oh my God. So yeah, even then, and then again when they did Krakoa and the Hellions book. Did you
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
read the Hellions book?
No, Jess
No.
got through all that Krakoa stuff, so she
Oh
updates me
yeah.
on the other books. I
I
read the
could.
main book, but the
I
other books, yeah,
I could not read Hellions because I could not stand to see Havoc be what do you call that? Be a
yeah.
simp to Madeline Pryor. It killed me. I couldn't do it.
Oh my
Couldn't
god,
do it.
am I vaguely remembering her keeping him alive for some reason? Some kind of weird, jacked up
Yeah.
reason. I don't
Yeah,
remember
but I don't
why I
remember
would have read
why I
that,
didn't
but
read it.
yeah, I
But like
definitely.
even at one point she like seals his mouth and he eventually like cuts his own mouth open so he
Oh,
can
we
say
seen that
something.
thing. Yes, because that ended up being that went viral on the internet because that not that the moment happened after, but people were pointing to that moment after Multiverse of Madness because of Black Bolt.
Yes.
Remember when Black Bolt gets his mouth taken out
Eh,
by Wanda? They were like,
is
maybe
why
there was or something he could do besides blow his brains out. He could have tried, just cut his. But neither here nor there. Um. Yeah. So they use their psychic blast. They're able to bat back the Hulk. With Franklin Richards in his grasp, Onslaught launches a full-scale invasion of New York City, deploying a fleet of reprogrammed Sentinels to enforce martial law and blockade all exits. Harnessing Franklin's reality warping abilities, he constructs a towering obsidian citadel in Central Park. As the assembled heroes gather atop 4 Freedom Plaza to organize their defense, is what I was talking about earlier. Onslaught and Legion. That's another thing. Yeah, they're all like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And Saigon's like, all right, you guys go high, you go low, you guys go feral, whatever. We're gonna take this and we're gonna do that. And then Onslaught just like creates this humongous electromagnetic pulse. It's both a psychic pulse and an electromagnetic pulse, and it decimates them, all of them. Iron Man's gear starts wigging out. That fucking vision starts glitching. The vehicles start falling out of the sky. It's so crazy, and it was an amazing way to be like, this isn't your granddaddy's villain here. He can with a single blast do all of this very very dangerous amount of damage here. Yeah, it fries the city's power grid. It disables Iron Man's armor. It disables Vision circuitry. It plunges Manhattan into a dark chaos, and it incinerates the data drive holding the Xavier protocols. Just as Cyclops returns from Muir Island. which also feels like just a weird plot point, right? Like you've introduced this very dangerous thing, and then you're just like,
Right.
we got
It
it, and
turns
it
into
got
nothing.
deleted. So,
Yep. Like so
um,
very anticlimactic. It just stuff happens. Stuff is just hitting the fan at this point, and the heroes are just like, what do we do? What do we do?
yeah, I think the big point now is the book eventually pivots from Onslaught being an evil Xavier imbued with some of the evil that Magneto has, and ultimately becomes an independent sort of uh, malice or malicious being that now seeks more psychic power. So his goal is to get both Nate Gray and Franklin Richards and siphon their psychic energy so that they can control the whole planet. I like that oh no, it's about to come out here. When he opens his chest to show Xavier, he's like, you see, you idiots, he's right here.
Right.
I was like, what is going on?
But then that whole thing ends up being like a ploy. It ends up being like a ploy.
Because they want him to several times. He wants them to break his armor so that he could do some shit, be more powerful, whatever. So, yeah, evolving into a mass armored form powered by Franklin Richards' reality warping energy, Onslaught confronts the unified heroes in Central Park. Joseph uses his magnetic control to tear at the monster's armor, and Cyclops unloads an uninhibited optic blast to widen the breach. Thor dives through the fissure and pulls Xavier free from Onslaught's chest. That felt like a kind of cool, like, 1-2 punch. They kept blasting the hole, and then Thor is like, you know what, fuck it, I'll get him. And then he just smashes right through him. However, the victory backfires disastrously. Removing Xavier strips Onslaught of his human consciousness and physical limits. Free from Xavier's body, Onslaught evolves into an independent, godlike entity of pure psionic energy, unleashing a psychic storm that scatters the heroes across the city. As Onslaught Citadel looms over Manhattan, the war fractures into brutal, smaller battles. Sue and Cable enter into the Citadel to rescue Franklin, forming a temporary pact with Apocalypse. I love this story, right?
Yes, that was a great issue.
They're like, oh, Apocalypse is like, yeah, I'll help you. He's like, fuck, I don't want to. That's like literally the guy. That's literally the guy.
I'm destined to kill you. And then this is also just, I mean, I guess this is always going to be in comics, but the thing I laughed during this time was just how you got Apocalypse and Cable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were many times where just Sue was hanging around, and it's like, yo, she's a mom.
Yeah.
Why is she so hypersexual?
I
like
don't
the way
know,
she's drawn,
but also
the way she's drawn.
You know how you were talking earlier about like you liked Havoc because he keeps saying, has your name, and they probably kept saying it in his vicinity. Every time they show Sue Storm, it's my son, my son, my son. I love it. That's her thing, but like every time. They just cut back to her, she's like, yeah, but what about my son? Where did they take my son? I need to go save my son. And so like having, freshly, as fresh as like 2 years ago, First Steps in my head and the lengths that she would go in that film, Dave Franklin, it all comes together pretty well here. But I love the idea.
No, I mean, I was fine with that part. Of course, she wants to save her kid, but it's just if you look at the art, I don't know if you were paying attention to it much. I just couldn't help but be like, man, they really go out of their way to like paint this costume on her.
Well, that's the whole thing I was saying about the Mystique thing. Like, me and Jessica had a whole conversation about like, was there another way to save her besides grabbing a full head of her hair? Because that's what the panel is her like arched back because her hair's getting pulled back because she was gonna fall. I'm like, he could have got her around the waist. He could have like grabbed her an arm.
Well, it's also Sabretooth, and it's Sabretooth. If it was Sabretooth or Wildchild, both of them hate Mystique. So I can totally see them doing it just because, like, oh, I want to hurt this woman anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Some people pay for that kind of that kind of energy. But no, the brilliant thing is it's like, okay, Apocalypse, because they'll do it later with Doom. They're doing it with Xavier. This whole idea of like, is the big bad that we're facing so bad that a regular villain of ours can come to their senses and be like, all right, I'm with the good guys. And it's like, okay, Apocalypse, I can see how Apocalypse would come to the conclusion that they would have to work together. And everything's going well until they're like, I found Franklin. I'm ready to kill him. And they're like, wait, what?
Right.
They're like, isn't this what you wanted? You told me we had to stop Onslaught from using Franklin.
Simple solution here, guy.
And then
Doesn't he say something like that? He says something like you're just your child for the sake of the entire universe or something like
like
that.
one life. It's like one life.
Yeah,
What does it matter? All that other kind of stuff.
yeah,
And Sue and Cable are like, fuck. I guess we have to fight you. We have to fight you now because you try to kill the baby. And so like that's
yeah.
really really
Yeah. He
interesting.
says, I promise only to separate the boy from the being, thus making Onslaught vulnerable. I just
Yes,
right.
that's
How I was
that.
gonna do it. I never described how I was gonna do it.
You all said that's what the mission was. I'm right here. I'm gonna blast his ass. And also like the comic book sort of logic of like all powerful being. I just have Franklin in my back, like a pod in my back as I walk around or whatever. So you can see him.
I well, not just that, but think about it, right? Most parents nowadays, right? They have those backpacks for
Yeah, that's
babies, so
true. That's
it's
true.
just putting his kid in his backpack, and he's like every now and again, he's like, "Hey, I need your power."
Yeah, talking shit. He's just sitting there talking shit to him. Um, at the destroyed X mansion, X Force is saved from Sinister's illusionary trap by Charlie, the lingering, compassionate remnant of Charles' psyche still fighting inside Onslaught's powers. That was very strange. It was just like them being helped by
That
Xavier.
felt like such a filler issue. It's just like, all right, we can't have X Force's story move forward,
Mhm.
so let's just do this. It only serves to say like it's trying. I feel like it's trying to help Xavier save some
That's what I'm
face.
saying. There's a lot of baby facing of Xavier to the point when you get to the end, they're like, you're under arrest. Everyone's like, you better not. He's the greatest
Yeah.
man to ever live. And he's like, nah, fuck it. I did it. Let's go. Yeah, please.
Trust me.
Anywhere's better than here. Have you been here?
You could tell in the back of his mind, he's like, I'll do that shit again.
Yeah.
Take me away.
Oh, by the way, X Factor is underneath the X Mansion.
No.
What were they doing? There was a lot of stuff going on underneath the mansion. They're like, and
Oh,
several things below.
dude, the mansion has so many lower levels.
Okay,
Anytime,
okay.
even now in the current X-Men run, they have like stuff hidden under there still. It's like, how many lower levels are here, man?
Okay. I felt like they were doing like a
it's
big
just
X Factor fight or something was going on down there where Nate Gray was like trying to like talk to a bunch of people. He was trying to like give him like a hoorah speech before Sinister shows up. I feel like it was either downstairs or in a catacomb or something in the mansion. It's very strange.
always has levels down there.
Yeah. So the Spider-Men, Ben Reilly and Peter Parker. Well, Peter Parker's not Spider-Man in this, right?
No, which was how did you feel reading this? Because
So
are
when I
you
saw
aware of the Clone Saga?
yes, yes, I'm aware of it. I've never read it. I hear reading it is quite maddening. I like the idea presented. I like the idea of like, okay, well, we're stuck. We want to mature Peter Parker, but the character of Spider-Man should stay in a status quo. Well, he has a clone. I think that's kind of interesting. The renege on it is a little cowardly, and the insistence that Peter has to be in something like this, right? Like if Peter has to join forces with Ben Reilly, then you kind of don't need Ben Reilly. Peter, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
Peter would have never needed Ben Reilly's help.
Well, and the other thing that's happening too is at the time, and they had it happen in one of the issues, is Peter's powers are in and out.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's like, oh well, he can't be a trustworthy Spider-Man if his powers aren't working. So let him go be the family man and still works as a reporter, and let Ben Reilly be Spider-Man. Well,
yeah.
and at this point in the story, even though if you read the Clone Saga, they constantly go back and forth with it. At this point, it's believed that Ben Reilly is the original and Peter Parker is the clone.
Yes, because one of them fell into a smokestack or something.
Yeah, well, the way it is, the original story is it was just a two-part story, quick fast, is one of them wins. We're led to believe that of course the original wins, and he throws Ben Reilly with the clone into a smokestack.
Yeah,
Which think about how vicious that is, man.
how heroic, right? My dear
Like,
hero Spider-Man.
it's me, it's my mirror image, so I'm allowed to just dispose of it by killing it
He feels
in
my
a
pain
smokestack.
and he feels my love and he feels everything that there is about me. Throw his ass in the smokestack. Also,
So apparently,
no, I was gonna ask because that all comes around again, right? When they bring Riley back. I mean, they bring Riley back 500,000 times, but the spasm.
because no, what happens at that and with the chasm story is, um, what's his name?
Does he
Jackal
misremember it?
had the no, he remembers her fine, but when he comes back the first time, he's not dead. When he gets thrown in the smokestack, he survives it.
Yeah.
And then what happens is he goes and hides and doesn't come around for 30 years of continuity.
Yeah.
Fast forward, what happens is the Jackal is doing experiments on Ben Reilly clones. And as every time he does more and more experiments on him, he's killing him. He's literally killing him, trying to figure
I
something
think I
out,
did
like
read
a
that.
kind of like.
Yeah, yeah.
And every time he does it, he's fracturing the psyche of Ben Reilly to the point where then the corporation, I forget the name of the company, is promising to fix his mind, but instead of fixing his mind,
Did
he just
Alchemix?
is it Alchemix or Roxxon or something like
One
that.
of those guys.
Oh no, or the brand company, something like that.
Because I remember him remembering Peter talking not like Peter. Like
Yes.
in his mind, Peter was like, "Yeah, fuck you. You're the clone. I'm killing you, and
Yeah.
you don't deserve to live."
Yeah.
He's like, "But what do you
Yeah. But
mean?"
that's
Yeah, yeah,
later
yeah.
on. That's more recent, and then it leads to him becoming Chasm because of I want to say because of Madeline Pryor
Oh,
doing like
yes,
magic
yes,
shit.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
They were doing their weird stuff. Well, how do you feel about Phil Urich as Green Goblin?
That was actually a cool series.
Yeah,
That was a very, very cool series. I remember it fondly. I remember that issue, and then I remember being upset that they would end his series in this crossover because it just wasn't selling well. It wasn't selling well. So they're like, "Oh, this is a nice way to like get him out of here. Just have him break his equipment." And because that's his whole quick, fast, and hurry is he finds Norman Osborn's or Harry Osborn's equipment
glider
and
and
he
stuff.
turns it
Yeah,
in. Yeah, and he uses it to become a hero. He's actually a hero,
yeah.
but it didn't sell well. But this then going further down the line, he becomes a villain. He becomes another Hobgoblin, and then somebody kills. I think the original Hobgoblin eventually kills him, and I think he's still dead, but he might. Comics people come back.
Yeah, no one stays dead. I like that he had like a ultrasonic scream, like he had a goblin
Yes,
scream. I
yeah,
thought that
laugh, a
was pretty
goblin
cool.
laugh. Yeah, that was unique to him. Yeah,
I thought that was
but
pretty cool.
I think later on he would adapt it. He would adapt it into his Hobgoblin persona.
Yeah, I think that's just a cool like Sonic addition to
Mhm.
that. That was pretty cool. Um, Punisher. Oh my god, that was like a nothing issue. The Punisher saving people in the Shield people who crash in the water. I'm
Because
like,
they're idiots. They're like, hey, look, the helicarrier can safely fly around these sentinels. We should be fine.
literally, that story was like, Frank, these good guys I've never seen are being attacked by these bad guys I've never seen. Can somebody help? I was like, okay, it is what it is. And then we talked already about Wolverine being guided by Ghost Stick. What is it? Force Ghost Stick.
Force Ghost Stick, yeah.
Getting with that. Iron Man, Black Panther, and Quicksilver navigate the sewers to the Wakandan consulate to retrieve vibranium, using it to manufacture psi shields capable of withstanding Onslaught's mental attacks. Meanwhile, Captain America leads the Avengers in defeating Holocaust and Post and develops attempt to steal the shields. It's also reminding me of something else. Wasn't there an entire plot point about Professor Xavier design psi suit?
Yes.
What happened to that?
I don't know. That's actually a good thing. I don't know.
Because I'm reading the book and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is all leading to like a final battle where at some point they managed to build this suit and then they would take him out. But similar to the Xavier protocols, I never got the ending, and I just read through the rest of it. So
no,
it
you're
never
right.
came back
You're
around.
right. I forgot that. I forgot that point.
Like
That's
they're
how
showing schematics to
minimal it was.
read and stuff like that. Like
Yes.
all the smartest people in the
Yeah,
room are
yeah,
like, yeah, we
it
need to
was.
build this psi suit. He had it in his Xavier protocols. We need to. He had a fail safe even for himself, kind of stuff. We need to build it, and
It never happens, right? I remember. Yeah, I remember they showed it in like a hologram, and then nothing comes about
so
it.
strange.
It's just
Yeah.
What do you say? Too many cooks? Too many cooks?
Too many cooks, man. It's too many damn cooks. Onslaught captures Nate Gray and absorbs his vast energy. Scanning Nate's memories of the Age of Apocalypse timeline, Onslaught concludes that neither humanity nor mankind is fit to survive. Through it, he's going to harness Franklin's power and manifest a second sun in the Earth's orbit, drawing it closer to ignite the atmosphere and burn the planet clean. I love that they look up and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a third sun!" And Reed's like, "Impossible!" And Sue's like, "Yes, Franklin. Like, he has he has a child with the imagination that can rewrite realities. I'm pretty sure."
But a part of me imagined like Neil deGrasse Tyson suddenly doing narration and being like, yeah, this would make no sense.
Yes, yes, yes.
A second sun would lead to the immediate decimation of the planet
I
Earth.
don't think it needed to be even needed to be that close. It would have thrown
Right,
so much other stuff off. The gravity, all
yeah,
that kind of shit.
everything.
Oh my god. And
And they're
again,
just
like,
like, yeah, it's like right here.
and also, like, it doesn't line up to me that the most psionic, psychic, whatever, magnetic being in the world would need that to do what.
Yeah, they're literally just at this point, I feel like they're just saying, look, we want to show how powerful and threatening he is. What crazy thing could he do? Create a sun. Sure. Fuck it.
Yeah, yeah, because ultimately he could just do what they did in Ultimatum, right? Move the tectonic plates or whatever, the magnetic plates
Yeah,
of the thing, and drown everyone, you know?
exactly. There's so many other things I mean, he's already shown that he can just do the crazy giant blasts and knock everybody
Oh
out.
my god.
He had an EMP.
You know what was gorgeous about that scene? Like, them cutting to like hospitals and shit.
Yes.
So, like, there's people stuck underground in trains. The hospitals,
Yes.
everything is shut off. Or
That
your
was
nurseries.
that was a cool issue of the Hulk where the Hulk like pushes a train to
Hmm.
safety.
Yeah, Magneto.
Yeah.
Magneto just pulls one from the from where it's at up, and then lets everybody out.
No, that's
like,
it.
like you might have
That
killed
works.
some people on the way up, bro. Like,
That's all
be a
right.
little
They were dead
careful.
already. They were dead already.
With time running out, the heroes launch their final attack on Central Park, guided telepathically by a powerless Xavier, who's doing a lot of just laying on the ground because they don't have his chair anymore. Nate Gray and Franklin Richards begin fighting back against Onslaught from within his core. To break Onslaught's physical form, Jean uses her telepathy to shut down Bruce Banner's cognitive inhibitions within the Hulk's mind. That was really cool. He's like, listen, I need you to do something for me real quick. And they're like, but if I
No,
do
I mean, because
that,
that was a big change, and to me, the one of the biggest flexes for Peter David,
yeah,
because I mean, Peter David had done this whole massive story of getting the Hulk right again, right? Like having him be Professor Hulk, and he's the
yep,
Hulk, but he's Bruce Banner, and then and to have it all undone in an event that has nothing to do with the Hulk,
yeah.
and then still continue to write a stellar Incredible Hulk series.
Yeah.
Fucking Peter David. Peter,
And that
rest in
art
peace.
when
You
he
were the
transforms
man.
or when he gets unleashed is pretty good.
Whoa, I think that was that Kubert or Deodato at that point? I forget, but yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
was like that. I'm
amazing.
like, I believe that man is unhinged.
Oh,
Um,
big time.
and they just get into a boxing match. You know, they just start boxing each other. Um,
Which I thought was cool, but at the same time, think about this, right? This whole time, this villain is being built up having all these powers, psionic powers, and I can use reality warping powers. And they're just like, yo, Hulk, punch him a lot.
yeah. I mean, a lot of this story is like, um, Cyclops blast him, like, just like Cyclops blasting everyone every time. He doesn't care how effective the attack is. He's just going for it. But yeah, Unchained, the Hulk enters an absolute berserker rage, bashing Onslaught with enough force to shatter his physical armor. Resulting shockwaves and psionic backlash actually physically separate Bruce Banner and the Hulk into two distinctive bodies. And this is
Mhm.
also one of those cases where, like, how? And they're like, well, maybe it was because, like, they're just making shit up. They don't fucking know. They're like, maybe.
That no, and here's the thing: this has happened to the Hulk before.
Okay.
So it's like, so comic people were just like, "Oh, this shit again,"
Yeah, yeah.
you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and then you see what happens later on. Bruce Banner. We'll talk about it when it happens, but
Yeah. Stripped of his armor, Onslaught transitions into a towering, spreading cloud of pure psionic energy. All of that is kind of like uh said on like said to Reed. He's like, I guess he's just a cloud of psionic energy now. I'm like, well, fuck. Like,
yeah, and it's I love the fact that because it's Reed, he suddenly just gives this exposition of like,
yeah,
I know what this is, and
yeah,
no mutants can deal with this, therefore this has to happen, and it's just like, yo, Reed, you just got here, bro.
yeah, yeah. Like, is he turning into a ball? They're like, yeah, we gotta go into the ball. You sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we gotta go into the ball.
If we all jump into it, that'll lead to an amazing reboot where we get a new
Yes.
universe and we'll all be drawn by Jim Lee and
In
Rob
30
Liefeld. What?
years, we will be in a movie together. All right, we need to get this done.
We need to do this.
So, Reed Richards realizes that because Onslaught feeds on mutant energy, any mutant who steps into the cloud would only empower him. However, non-mutant heroes can step into the energy field to act as physical containment vessels, finding his essence so he can be destroyed. he does realize this, but he's not the one who realizes it first. It's actually Thor. Thor's like, you know what? Fuck this. He goes, they're like, he doesn't have a physical body, and Thor's like, you know what? I'll give him mine. He says something like, the skin of the Thunder God will be his last prison, or some like really badass thing. But then when he goes in,
the sinew of the Thunder
Okay.
God shall surely contain such a wicked storm.
and he
And
just
once
runs
it does,
in.
and then blink.
Yeah, he just runs in. And so on the outside looking in, he's just gone. And it was like, what the fuck? What did he just do? And then Reed's like, I think if you could do whatever. They find a very cool way to not make this corny. They find a very cool way. I bought in by the time I'm here, and they're like, oh, holding hand in hand together. Fuck it, we're going in there. We're charging in there. I was on board already. As someone who had been reading it for a year, how did you feel?
I felt this was very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I remember reading this and being like, wait, what? The Hulk just beat the shit out of this guy, cracks him open. He turns
It's
into
even worse now.
bubble. Right, it's bubbling energy. And everyone's just like, all right, the mutants can't run in. But everybody else who's in a shitty title that's not selling well, run into the blob.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then the best part was, you can Scarlet Witch is a mutant, but because she has reality, they say, oh, she has reality altering hex powers, so she can run in. I'm like, nah, it's because she's on the Avengers.
No, that's 100% what it was. It was like, do we have any more mutants
Quicksilver,
left?
Because Quicksilver's like, I'm her sister. That's my sister. No, you're on the good teams that sell well, so you could stay. But your sister, not so much. She gotta go.
She's gotta go. Yeah. So they all run in there. Doom doesn't want to, but Iron Man forces him, which is pretty cool.
I love that moment. I love that moment.
That was pretty cool.
That was, but how about that? Did you read a lot of the Iron Man stuff that ties into this?
I did, but I'm not. I think I read it.
It's very forgettable. It's very forgettable.
He's also time traveling as well? He a time travel dude too?
Yes.
Okay.
That was something else about this. So that's another reason why they did this whole thing. So at this point, Tony Stark is a teenager, because the real Tony Stark went crazy and tried to he kind of did a whole. You remember Superior Iron Man? Did you read any of that?
Yeah, when he got too cocky.
He did a kind of like a Superior Iron Man, and then I think Kang is involved. Somebody time travel. They go back and get young Tony Stark to fight old man crazy Tony Stark, and he beats him. And they're like, well, we need an Iron Man, so they keep teenage Tony Stark. So this entire crossover, you're dealing with teenage Tony Stark. And that's this is how they fix that. This is how they get rid of it, by going, jump into the portal.
The exposition was always, and that revelation shocks the heart of the kid inside the Iron Man suit. And I'm like, what kid? What do you keep calling him a kid? This must be some weird time travel shit. Also, one of the worst things I've seen in this entire book, and I'm blaming whoever did it, and I'm blaming all the fan base for dealing with it. Why would they ever show his teeth through the helmet? That is the weirdest image. Whenever Iron Man grits his teeth and you can see his teeth through the helmet, it's one of the weirdest visuals.
I never noticed. I'm looking at it now.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, it's a weird visual, bro. It's a very strange visual. You wouldn't see it on a regular helmet.
Nope. That is really funny. I never caught on to it.
I'm like, please, I'm glad that it's like now just a cold face of armor, because man, that teeth thing really nightmare fuel. As the non-mutants heroes absorb Onslaught's energy into their bodies, Reed calls out to the remaining X-Men to fire. They just fire. They just shoot at it. Like, doesn't matter that if it's concussive, if it's psionic, if it's heat, if it's any other
thunder. Rocks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thunder, hit it.
That's right. Wolverine slicing at it.
Yeah. What the fuck is he doing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Berserker barrage.
It would have been funny if before they realized what the ball was doing, if he would just ran in there. I got him. And
I
oh
got
shit!
it.
Oh shit!
No!
Yeah! Oh shit!
God damn it,
He's
Logan!
he's gone.
Always
I had a
fucking
big
shit up, man.
speech. I had a big speech where I was gonna explain everything. Ridiculous. Um, I missed it here, but I did, like I said before, about them like trying to go Valerie Cooper being like, "Hey, I'm here to like take Xavier," and Logan's like, "You mean talk to Xavier, right? You're not here to take him. I'll fucking kill
Right.
you, whatever the fuck." And then
Right. Oh no, I'm sorry. Keep on.
no, that's basically it. And then like
Oh,
everyone's like, no matter what we do, we will never let Xavier leave. And then Xavier shows up and goes, "I'm leaving." And you're like, okay.
I gotta go. No, no. What I was gonna say, back to when everybody was running into the blob to stop him.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner wakes up and he
Yes.
jumps in, but the Hulk stays, which
Ah.
ends up being a thing later on with how they realize there's another universe because the Hulk is a literal like portal between the worlds because and
Oh,
he doesn't
okay.
have Bruce Banner anymore, so he's
So he's like
like
one of those Nexus
Hulk.
beings.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And on top of that, he's a Hulk with no conscience.
Yeah.
So I remember reading the Hulk after this, and it's really freaking good.
Okay.
It's actually and then eventually in the pages of Hulk, the Thunderbolts show up because in this world there's no Avengers. So
Yeah.
that's where Baron Zemo gets the idea to I'll make I'll take over secretly by making
Oh
us all
yes, yes,
heroes,
yes. Okay,
and
and we
then
we
we'll be
covered that on here. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's all linking up. It's so weird when you read these like packages of history and then realize where they all slot and why they all make sense,
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of things. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember Spider-Man was hanging out there, but nobody else was like already around.
Mm.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. The mutants unleash a full power volley of their combined mutant abilities, detonating the energy
Mhm.
cloud and destroying Onslaught in a blinding explosion that seemingly vaporized all of the non-mutant heroes inside. I love that seemingly vaporized. Like, oh, they're all gone. I think something happens where Frank is like, but my whole family, and Xavier's like, you might see them again soon, maybe.
I mean,
But in the
Uatu.
meantime, keep them in your
Here's the
hearts.
here right. Here's the speech that Uatu gives. He gives this a day of new possibilities of heroes rediscovered and heroes reborn. The
Yep.
champions of Earth are that mortal men. Their passing, however tragic, is inevitable. And then
Yes.
he's like, oh, but of course this, and then it leads into that.
And
And then
he's like, "Oh, by
also,
the way, but they might. There's a good chance they might come back." He says, like, right before the issue ends, he's like, "By the way, don't bet too
um,
much on them being gone. I think they're gonna come back."
and then the ball that Franklin is constantly carrying around with himself,
Mm-hmm.
that's literally the Heroes Reborn universe.
Ah, okay.
Eventually they realize, oh
He
shit, the whole
saved them.
universe is by putting them in that ball and creating a different universe.
Yeah, and dropping the ball a couple times as he like walks down the street and shit like that.
Pretty
Uh,
much.
but this
The
is
Men in Black showed up at one point, but they couldn't get the ball from him.
this is what I've written down as far as some of the aftermath that I didn't actually experience, and you can explain where you want to if you remember any of this stuff. So,
Mhm.
with the world without heroes, in the wake of all the devastation, King Marco battles the entity Sight and Sidorak himself within the gem,
Mhm.
and then aided by Gomer the Mystic,
Gomer Pyle.
Gomer Pyle the Mystic, he breaks free with his powers enhanced. Does that ring a bell?
That was in the pages of X-Men Unlimited, like number 13 or 14,
Okay.
where it's just basically like, hey, we got to get the Juggernaut out of Sidorak. That was there's so much lore that comes from that from what I remember, never gets revisited, with the exception of Sidorak, because
It's so crazy
he
because he does
fights
need his own lore because he's not a mutant. So every part of him
right.
is a different
Yeah,
story of a
but I
different.
mean, but like the added lore, because like one of the characters that helps out is a guy from talk about connecting dots here. You see how they constantly made like Psylocke seem really weird in this whole
Yes.
crossover?
Yeah, she's like wigging out.
Sabretooth, and this was one of those situations where they tried to say like this was one of the things that made Xavier like kind of wig out. Sabretooth gets fucked up by Wolverine to the point where Sabretooth Wolverine lobotomizes him.
Oh wow.
Sabretooth is then acting lobotomized. He's acting like a innocent person.
Hmm.
Psylocke and Meltdown Boomer, and she kind of hints at it in this crossover. Did you catch that in the X-Force issues?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
how she's pissed off at Sabretooth because
Yes.
Sabretooth like tricked her.
Yeah.
So when he reveals that he's not really mind wiped or like lobotomized, he Psylocke, he like guts Psylocke
Oh shit.
to the like Psylocke should have died. The only way to save her was to go, and I think she mentions it a couple times. She has to go through the Crimson Dawn, which is like this Japanese thing that they take her to, where she gets saved, but that's how she ends up with that red thing on her eye.
Okay. When in this timeline does she transfer over to Quanon?
That already happened.
Oh,
This
she's
is
already in
Betsy.
somebody else's body.
This is Betsy inside of Quanon's body,
Okay. Okay.
and Quanon is in her old body, but I think she died. I think
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
like dead.
Yeah. That can't be
So
fun.
This is Betsy inside of that. But she almost died. They save her, but in saving her, they make her like this weird shadow ninja assassin now.
Mm.
She's like more of a ninja than ever.
Yeah.
She can actually, it's something I was kind of pissed they never showed it in this. She can actually travel through shadows.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a moment where they're like, "Oh, there's something in the shadows," and she's freaking out. Remember?
Right,
But it ends up
right. And
being,
that's why it really freaks her out because it's like, yo, you can travel through those now, but now
yeah,
you're
yeah,
scared to
yeah.
do it because you think they're alive. It was
Interesting.
really weird. But anyway, that character that helps, it's Wolverine Archangel,
Like, how many
Wolverine
Wolverines?
Archangel.
Because
Yeah,
you're like
right, yeah,
Wolverine,
12,
Wolverine,
all 20,
Wolverine.
all 20, all 20. But yeah, they go on like a quest to get this stuff that's going to save Betsy. The person that takes them also then later on is the person that helps Juggernaut get out of the gem. A character that, as far as I know, is never seen again.
Very strange.
Spite and all of these things. Gomer, you
No,
never see them ever. As far as I know, we never see them ever again.
poor thing.
But it was a fun issue because that whole issue is like it's a how Juggernaut got his groove back
Okay, yeah, I can
because
dig it.
he comes back. He gets
Eventually becomes an
set
X-Men.
free.
You know,
Yes,
like,
he does.
uh,
Which I like.
I dig it. Cable's techno-organic virus flares wildly due to the psionic fallout, bringing him to the brink of death. However, a spiritual vision involving his lost loved ones and the assistance of Franklin and Nathaniel Richards, Cable regains kinetic control over his body and suppresses the virus. It sounds like a whole lot of nothing. Sounds like things
Yeah,
got
well,
weird and then
the
he got
thing I
back.
liked about it was that he at least gets to say goodbye to his son, because in the lore of Cable, his son was a big deal. I mean, they even made it a big deal in the original X-Men cartoon where he's like, "I gotta save my son Tyler."
Yeah,
Remember,
yeah,
Tyler
yeah.
like fades away from existence. So in this, they mentioned it a couple times that like, "Hey, aren't you mad that Wolverine killed your son?"
Yeah.
And he admits he's like, "I'm kind of mad, but I also understand what my son had just done to him, so I kind of
100%.
get it." So in this, he gets to see them and like spiritually say goodbye. It was sweet. It
Okay.
was cute.
And it's to tie up a loose end.
Yeah, and also it makes it so that he can go back. The technoganic virus is not going crazy anymore.
Okay.
So
Um,
it sets him back to his good old Rob Liefeld days.
a grieving Charles Xavier sits in the rain outside of the ruined mansion, crushed by guilt. Wolverine reminds him that one mistake does not define a man's life and urges his mentor to let his students support him. Sounds like business as usual. With the Avengers and
I like
Fantastic. Oh, go ahead, brother.
I love that issue because one, it's Joe Madureira. His
Okay.
art is gorgeous on it. So you didn't read this, or you just read this as like the cliff notes you caught?
These are the clip notes on the basically like that
If you
the ass end of this.
you've mentioned that you like Joe Madureira's art. I highly recommend. I think that's Uncanny X-Men. What number is it? Number 337.
Okay.
The artwork is gorgeous. It's Xavier basically staying away, recognizing, hey, I know what I did. I know what I'm capable of. I'm gonna stay out in the rain.
What was Jameson meeting Bastion about?
Oh well, Bastion at because he's already been revealed throughout this crossover also.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is where the source material to me is always different, at least in the cartoon. The cartoon already has Bastion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're doing it kind of backwards here. He shows up in this after this Operation Zero Tolerance happens, which is kind of like what happens in X-Men 97 already from the
With the
first
more
season.
human like Sentinels.
Bastion. And Bastion.
Yeah.
So So Bastion here is meeting with J. Jonah Jameson to be like, I'm the new guy in charge of
Yeah,
what's
you hate
happening. So
menaces. I hate menaces. Let me get rid of all those freaks
there you
that's
go.
wrecking shop
So because
around
this
here.
because this is where the next thing is leading to. Because now everybody's pissed from what they saw. They saw the mutants kill all the heroes,
And
right?
start the
That's
fight.
what.
Like they start
Right,
the fight, and then they're the only ones left over after the fight, and all the good people that they've
right,
ever known or cared about are dead. Yeah.
right. So so now like Bastion goes to J. Jonah Jameson and be like, hey, I want you to help me spread my gospel that I'm going to save the day now. Get rid of these mutants.
Okay. I have a little bit of that here. I have with the Avengers and Fantastic Four gone, global anti-mutant hysteria reaches a fever pitch. Rather than receiving gratitude for stopping Onslaught, the mutants are blamed for the loss of Earth's greatest
Right.
champions. Creating Creed leverages this fear for his presidential run, while the mysterious agent Bastion secures political backing to launch Operation Zero Tolerance. So while this is going on, this is still very like hush hush as to what he's trying to accomplish.
I mean, Operation Zero Tolerance is another one that like comes and goes.
Okay.
It's really not good. I remember liking it, and then it just ends. Like it literally ends with Bash being arrested. That's how
Ah,
corny it was. It was there's no like big climactic fight. The shield just shows up and it's just like,
arrested.
hey, you've been abusing your powers. You're arrested. The end. Like that's it.
Powerless and consumed by responsibility, Xavier wittingly surrenders himself to Doc Valerie Cooper. We did that already. Instead of receiving a trial or protection, he's turned over to Bastion and imprisoned in a high security Operation Zero Tolerance facility in New Mexico. That guy gets arrested a lot, though. Xavier's always arrested
He
somewhere, and they
does.
got to go and save him. Though the world
That he
mourns
does.
the loss of the Fantastic Four and Avengers, they are not dead. Spoiler alert. At the moment of Onslaugh's destruction, Franklin Richards subconsciously used his reality warping powers to create a pocket dimension counter Earth and shunted the dying hero souls into it, allowing them to be reborn in new, altered lives. On Earth 616, Franklin carries that entire pocket universe with him wherever he goes, contained inside a small, glowing blue ball. Was this meant to be a reboot universe? Were they trying to see, or was this just like biding time before we brought him back?
I think it was one of those we'll let it rock for as long as it can, and
How
then
could
we
we miss
know
you if you
how
don't
we're
go
gonna.
away, kind of thing?
Well, that and it was just like we know how we're gonna bring him back if we have to. I think if Heroes Reborn ended up being really, really good, they would have let it rock for like 2, 3, or 4 years maybe.
Yeah.
But they were like, we got 13 issues out of this. Let's just bring him back. We know how to bring him back. Let's bring him back. And when they brought them back, the creative teams they put on those books made those books must reads. They if you've ever heard of Kurt Busiek,
Yeah.
they had him writing Iron Man and the Avengers. I love those books. They had George Perez on Avengers again, which was amazing. Um Sean Sean Chen was the artist on Iron Man.
Okay.
I love
Other than
those
that,
two books. Captain America, they put Mark Waid on Captain America, and I love that Captain America run by Mark Waid. That's where Cap loses the shield and he just has like the photon shield.
the one made of
That's
light.
yes. Yeah. So I really like that run of Mark Wade's. And then the Fantastic Four run was I want to say it was Chris Claremont, but
Okay.
I feel like somebody else did it first. But even that, I really, and these were 4 titles that I had not collected before, and I collected those 4 books, and then beyond. Like then once they gave Thor his book and they brought him back, that book was amazing.
Oh, I
Who
really
else?
liked his whole thing. I liked he had a very somber moment where he's talking to Norville, the other Thor,
Was the other
and
Thor? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and Hela shows up and propositions him and is like, "You're gonna die in this big old fight, or you could just stay with me forever in hell." And he's like, "I'm just gonna sit here and have a beer with
Yeah.
Norville," and they just sit there and they have a beer. It's a really, really cool, really, really quiet moment. But as we continue to put the blocks together for this timeline, I thought you'd be interested in knowing that in December of this year is when Marvel files for bankruptcy.
which was no, I have that pulled up also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Marvel knew it was coming.
That's what I'm
They
saying.
knew it.
Yeah, this was
Like,
like the last gasp, and a lot
yeah,
of these characters will be ones that they sell off. You
yes.
know, um,
I think even sometime before it or during it, they sold the movie rights of Spider-Man. They sold the movie rights of the X-Men because that was an easy sell.
yeah,
But
James Cameron was gonna do a Spider-Man movie.
yes, but I think it's so funny. How funny is it now in retrospect that the characters that they couldn't sell, even the comic books and even the rights, like nobody wanted to touch. Everyone was like, Iron Man, you can keep
Yeah.
that shit. Captain America,
Yes,
those
I'll
comic
take
books
Ghost
sell.
Rider. I'll grab
Yeah,
Blade. He's kind of
I'll
cool.
grab Blade and Sony. You got Spider Man. All right, that's cool.
Yeah,
And Fox, you got the X Men and all the X Men stuff. Oh, you're gonna take Fantastic Four? You sure you don't want to take the rest of this shit with
yeah,
it?
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
no. All
There's some
right.
new
And then you
mutants if
fast,
you guys want them. They're still
you know,
they're here or whatever.
and then you fast forward to what was the year of the first Iron Man movie? Like
Oh wait,
2008,
yeah, 10 years
2008.
roughly after
You know,
the bankruptcy. All it
and
took,
that movie, the
and
rest is history,
and a
man.
decade of good writing from Secret Wars going back 10 years to about House of M, Avengers Assembled. A decade of good writing put all this back on top. But you can tell right now things were a bit scattershot, especially when it's like, they were constantly referring to randos on the team in this, regardless of what team it was. How do you feel about this Shard? I don't know, Ransom or whatever the heck's going on or whatever. And I'm just like, who are these people? I've never seen them before. I've
Right?
never seen them again.
Do you
They
not know who Shard is?
Am I supposed to know who Shard is?
Shard is Bishop's sister.
Okay, okay,
He died. She died in the future, but
yeah,
he somehow, I forget how he does. He gets like her consciousness put into a hologram. She's not a real person. She's a hologram,
okay. But
and that's what that is.
Nate's girlfriend is in this.
Threnody. Yes, she was some like sinister person that Sinister saved. That's why she has like all the stuff on her, and she harnesses the power of
Yeah,
death. She harnesses the power of death energy, but those things help control that. Otherwise, she would constantly be going out of control. And she falls in love with Nate Gray. In the pages of X Men is also Madeline Pryor. That's a whole issue,
that's
and that
very
he
strange.
he gravitates towards her because she looks just like Jean Grey, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
in the Age of Apocalypse world, and he bonded with her even there.
So that's
So
his
he
mom,
bonds
right?
his biological mom. He's a test tube baby,
Okay. Oh yes, Nate Gray is Cable's mom is Madeline Pryor though.
Madeline Pryor, right?
Okay. Sorry, we've been having a little disagreement slash um joke because it feels like an X-Men 97. Jean is a little cold to Nate and Cable. Cyclops
Yeah,
would be
she didn't get
there.
burnt.
That's what I'm
She
saying.
didn't get burnt.
Cyclops would be there like, oh, be careful, my son. And she'd be like, see you, Cable.
That's
Bye,
right. Get the
Nate.
fuck out of here. Get
Bye,
out of
Nate.
here.
And then she was,
Me.
Jessica was like, I don't see that. I'm like, yeah, that's that other, his son. That's that other bitch's son. Like that's the other woman. Like, she ain't messing with that. So it's just a little joke there. Yeah. So, okay. What a fucking, what a timeline, what a family tree, all that kind of stuff. They really went out the woodwork of so and so's brother, so and so's son, so and so's daughter
Yep.
in this era. Um, it is it's atrocious to try to read Siren's dialogue because they're trying to type it in Irish accent,
Yes.
and that was
Yes.
terrible. I'm like, what is going on here? I can't. But yeah, man,
Does she stutter? Like, what's wrong with this
there's a little
woman?
bit of that. Even with everything even with all the things that you rally against with this book, it feels unapologetically 90s and stuff like that. The artwork, like I said, is sings, and the character moments I think are really badass. It's been a while since I've saved this many little parts of it, this many little panels of it, because I just enjoyed going on the road, and I didn't have to go through it for a full year, so I can understand how that could be maddening, you know. But even going through it for this week, I just took chunks of it for the last, I would say, week. Um, and so I was ready to see this go, especially when it started just getting into Sentinel stuff for a while and no Onslaught stuff for a while. But I will look fondly upon this. I'm glad that we read this. I'm glad that I read this with you, somebody who was around at the time and remembers what that felt like, and to go through it. You have the book on hand. And I'm very interested to see what, if any, of this they borrow for 97. What are your predictions on that? Do you see them rolling this kind of stuff in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, easily, easily. I think because look what I mean. Xavier showed that he's still freaking traumatized from what he just witnessed happen to Magneto, right? That Magneto, that little Magneto spore is still in there somewhere
Right.
because he did mind wipe him technically. So I believe eventually what we're going to get, whether or not it's going to happen this season or the next season, because they've already announced that there's going to be at least 4 seasons. I think
Okay.
one producer said they want to do like 10 seasons of X-Men 97. Let's see that happen. But I believe so. Something's going to happen that makes an Xavier snap, and you're going to see the Onslaught persona come out.
That'll be very interesting to see. My first thought was, what benefit do they have to do a universe changing story? And the only thing I could think of is stuff that's going on with Secret Wars, which would be extremely interesting
And
if
you can
they were
see those
able
things tie
to,
together
yeah, if they were
to
able
tie
to
in the
do
animation
something.
to what's happening. Of course, I could
That
see
would
them
be
doing
an
it.
extreme. I don't. That might be a little bit too much for them to try to accomplish, but that's a cool option if they decide to go
Mhm.
the Onslaught route. That they all run in there because it's quite similarly another universe-ending event that they would,
Mhm.
that eventually. But
Or
yeah,
they can just keep it, or they can just keep it smaller.
yes,
Like the way
that's
they
100%
changed.
fine. I'm
And
loving, just like off to an aside without spoilers. How great has 97 season 2 been? Been
oh, it's
really, really, really good. And
even the worst episode to me was still fantastic.
yeah, and my whole
Like
thing
what was
is
it,
like
the
the
Wolverine
Wolverine.
episode that people are
People
like, yeah,
hated it. I
I
didn't. I didn't
I
hate it
liked
that
it.
much. I actually thought the last one was a little bit weaker than this one,
Um,
the Danger Room one.
yeah, yeah, I guess
Especially
so.
the resolution of it. It was all like it. I was just here to make you stronger, and then like,
I guess, yeah. I mean,
but it
because
happens in the
did
comics.
you
That's
ever
a
did
comic
you?
thing.
Well, I was gonna say, did you ever read the Whedon run?
I started the read and run. I didn't finish it, but I know Danger
Okay,
Room does become a sentient thing in the comics, and you find out that
that's where
Xavier
that's
did some.
no, that's where that whole story arc comes from. Is that's the Whedon run?
Okay,
Yeah, that's like the first 12 issues of it.
this is the first time I have ever felt like the thing that I am watching grew up with me. Like the
Right.
material got more mature, that the
Hmm.
dialogue got more mature. Some of the things that they were saying in this, when Magneto says something along the lines of like, "Yes, I was a sinner, but I was spending all my time pushing people to the saint. Like I was
Yeah.
such a bad guy that I
Right.
purposely pushed everybody to the good. Like that was my role in life." Like I'm just like again, a lot of that, like, your mother should have left you in the womb or whatever fucking Xavier says
Ooh,
at
yeah.
one
When
point.
Xavier gets pissed, it's like your mother knew you were a son of a bitch.
Yeah, all of that stuff. So all the Storm stuff, the voice acting's been on point. We are in another, and the comic books haven't gotten there yet, but we are in another era of an X-Men renaissance. We have X-Men 97 coming out. Doomsday will feature multiple X-Men. The X-Men reboot is around the corner, and you have Marvel's Wolverine coming out in a couple months. So we're gonna be very X-Men focused for a long time, but not next week. Next week we're gonna be Spider-Man focused as I tackle another story for the very first time. Spider-Man, one more day. So get ready for it. We're on a controversial comic run. And we'll be reading One More Day to prepare eventually for Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I will be seeing 6 days from today. I'll be seeing it next Wednesday. So most likely might be like around the time I'll be recording One More Day, I will have some Brand New Day in my head. So very excited to see what happens there. They're keeping their things close to the chest. Their cards close to the chest, and I'm just excited to see what unfolds here. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the more I read comics, nothing beats these comics. Nothing beats what started it originally. Nothing beats these stories, as ridiculous as they stand. I implore you guys to check out Onslaught when you get a chance, just to not to sit there and with your arms crossed and compare and contrast whenever you see another iteration of it, but more so to understand where the industry was at that time, where Marvel Comics was at that time, and realize that this was their attempt to kick out at 2 and eventually do the Hulk Hogan comeback that will lead into
No.
that will lead into the Marvel that we know now and that we've known
Yeah.
for the last 20 years. It's really, really exciting stuff to look back at. Um, Before we get off, do you anything else you want to say about Onslaught before we wrap up here?
Yeah, despite all our joking about it and about like how you basically said how kind of ridiculous it was, I still in rereading it, I would not. I would say don't even read the entire omnibus. It's a cool omnibus if you to get a hold of if you can. I mean, just for the art alone, the Joe Madureira, the Steve Scrooge, the Mike Deodato, the Kurlbert stuff. But if you can just read like the basic story of it, it's worth reading, especially if you want. I know people love to be in the know
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
know Onslaught is going to show up in '97 eventually. So just for that, definitely recommend reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a great episode. Like I said, I'm super glad we got you on for this. You have a one of a kind sort of perspective when it comes to this, and it got to be fun for you to hear all these brand new revelations coming to my mind of a book that came out
No,
30 years ago.
I love it. That's why I was like I had to be on this one, especially with you having just read it for the first time,
Yeah,
because it's one of those things like we talked about. I think Secret Invasion not too
yeah,
long ago.
uh-huh.
I think we're talking, and you read it in one thing
Yeah.
and you loved it.
Hmm.
But for us readers reading it month to month, a lot of people were freaking pissed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And with
So
some of these delays, like
I like getting those different moments, you know?
the first event I ever collected issue to issue was Doomsday Clock. Would have been like 2016, 2017, I want to say.
Mhm.
And that was one that
That
was
thing took
supposed to
what,
be
2 years?
yes, that was the one that's supposed to be released every year. So like by the time the last issue came out, I didn't have the patience for it to be good or bad.
Hmm.
I almost didn't care anymore. And now people reading like,
Right.
"Oh my god,
Oh,
there's some parts of that going into Firestorm recently. The Fury of the
yes.
Firestorm book, and they're like, yeah, as introduced in Doomsday Clock. And I'm like, where in Doomsday Clock? And then I pull out my issues. And I'm like, oh, it was right there. I just was looking for something else because I'm like, where is this going? When does this end? Kind of shit. Um,
Right.
but yeah, these events, these omnibuses can be overbearing reading it in one go, but nothing could be more arduous than not only taking the time out in a full year, but paying the money for a full year to hope that this thing lands. And you know, we're in an era now where they don't give a lot of these series past 10 issues. So, you know, it's very interesting to see how many chances they were taking on so many new characters in this. And then eventually the big old reset button of everyone just running to the microwave and we'll see we'll see what happens next. Really, really exciting stuff.
That's the we got to do Heroes Reborn eventually. We
I'm
got to
not
do
I'm
Heroes
not
Reborn
I'm not
eventually.
down. Maybe around the time of Doomsday. If they have a universe changing event, it'd be cool to see what Marvel did with their first, you know? Um so
Not for
yeah. So yeah, man, full packed year, Doomsday, Spider-Man. We have a bunch of stuff to put on the calendar, like X-Men 97's gotta go on the calendar soon. My Adventures with Superman gotta go on the calendar. Clayface will be coming out this October.
Oh yeah, that
Yes,
looks real good.
so Clayface is going to be a thing. Cape Crusader, I want to say season 2 is coming out on Amazon soon. Um,
Next week.
yeah, yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff for us to tackle, as well as some great books. We got to put Absolute Martian Manhunter back on the schedule. You understand? So there's a lot of stuff going on. Super excited to talk about all of it here as part of the Major Issues podcast. If you guys have been watching us, thank you so freaking much. These episodes usually drop in audio form every Thursday, but and sometimes they get recorded on Thursday, but usually I try to give myself a little bit more of a buffer. This was such a huge book. I waited to the very last minute to record to make sure that I had all of the information that I needed, and I still missed stuff.
Hey, no, and you're also doing brilliant coverage of San Diego Comic Con. Make sure you guys are all following
Yep,
that
doing
because we are
coverage
on
San Diego
top of that.
Comic Con. We're still editing videos for Major Discourse, our interview series where we talk to the people in the industry and find out what makes them tick. We still have video series like Major Previews, which is still going on. Your Major Halls videos, which come out once a week. Those things are absolutely killer. I like seeing creatives see your picks and get excited. That's been a really really fun thing. We're Comic Book Click. We exist at comicbookclick.com. It's a one-stop shop for everything Comic Book Click, and that's where our reviews live. We have an international team putting out reviews each and every day. I love these guys. We just got a brand new slew of writers, and just watching them kind of get their footing and get their personality and get their voice out there has been really really exciting. Um, we the A lot of the other comic book review sites have ran into the ball. Just like the X-Men, just like the Fantastic Four, just like the Avengers. we're in a comic book click reborn era. We're the only ones around doing what needs to be done. So make sure you're checking out everything that we do at comicbookclick.com, including looking at our reviews. But every episode of the Major Issues podcast lives there, and it's over 442 hours of content. We're on the road to 450. It's super exciting. Sometime this week, I'll be narrowing down what we'll be covering for the latter half of this year, and I'm super excited to tackle that kind of stuff. And we got a bunch of interviews coming out soon. Just having a lot of fun. So find us at facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, or use that hashtag comicbookclick to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things. Come to Comic Books and Comic Media. We're at Major Issues CBC on Twitter and at Major Issues CBC on Twitch. Once you go to comicbookclick.com, if you read every single review, if you listen to every episode of the podcast, if you check every bit of comic book news that's fit to print, go and check out the guys over on Dirt Sheet Radio. You can go to dirtsheetradio.com, but they share real estate at comicbookclick.com. John Escudero runs a very tight ship over there, and he has been providing news and coverage for pop wrestling and pro wrestling and pop culture for quite some time right now. I'm very proud of the empire that man has built, and we share real estate at comicbookclick.com. So check out those guys. They are putting out full episode recaps, editorials, box office stuff. Our name is popping up in people's mouths that I did not expect. That's all I'll say. Yep. And so if you're here because of that, welcome. But also, yes, man, like I've done this so long with the pure reward of talking to my good friends about good comics. And it turns out other people are paying attention. And so this is a new phenomenon to me. We're talking to writers, we're talking to artists, we're talking to other people in the space. We are in this space now as we deserve, and we've done a lot of hard work to get here. So hopefully you guys join us next week as we tackle Spider-Man One More Day, then Spider-Man Brand New Day, and then a whole slew of other stuff as we get reborn, if you will. But that's all I've got here tonight. Like I said, check out all that stuff. Go to patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. You can help us afford the hardware and the software we need to keep providing you guys content free of charge. We charge nothing for any of the content that we put out. So any bit of donation helps tremendously. Because we got bills to pay, y'all. You see what it is out here in these streets. Gas is $4, right? It's wild. It's wild. We're in our own age of apocalypse. But anyway, help us get what we're getting. I've been to the future. Can't tell you how we do it. Or next thing you know, the Rock's Moana movie is gonna flop, and no one wants to see that. So make sure that you get in where the getting's good. Get on the bandwagon so we can hear you, because we're going to the moon. At the very least, next week we're going to the movies. So with all that being said, all I've got left to say is my name is George Serrano, aka the Don.
And I'm Alex Garcia, aka the Cog.
And this has been our Onslaught Saga recap and review. And remember, whether you're a member of the F4, the X-Force, or original Recipe X-Men, an Avenger, an Inhuman, or the manifestation of your own rage, as it happens sometimes when you have a crush on somebody you probably shouldn't, who's extremely younger than you, remember that we are the Click, and always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.